topic of bitterness among Black American women is one that is often left unspoken. While this is not an assessment of all Black women, it is undeniable that there is a growing segment of Black women who, as they age, struggle with bitterness. This bitterness can stem from a wide range of experiences, some deeply personal, others influenced by a broader societal trend. The purpose of this discussion is to shed light on this phenomenon, offer empathy, and present paths for healing. Addressing the issue is crucial for the well-being of these women and those within their inner circles. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Lancescurv. I just have to say that this is not a show that is about bashing Black women. And I know the thumbnail is way over the top. I have some personal experiences that I'd like to share during this show, as I always do as I go down my bulleted points. But by no means, this is not going to be some discussion where it's a bunch of bitter Black men speaking about how bitter Black women are. This is not that kind of show. I want to get that straight from the beginning. But when you advertise cheese crackers and you have the next competitor and company who sells cheese crackers, you want to show that your cheese crackers are cheesier than their cheese crackers. So this visual probably would grab your attention. But I know in the media that oftentimes the Black woman is portrayed as, bitter and morbidly obese, possibly just out of control. And that's not what I'm addressing. I'm addressing those who may be bitter, but we can salvage what they've been through and try to understand. Because personally, in my life, I have known women that have been bitter, and with my friendships with them, and we're not talking anything intimate now, maybe one or two in there somewhere, but I got a chance to show them how it is to be loved and appreciated, regardless as to the other things that may have happened. Because a lot of us sisters have gone through so much. Let me just welcome everyone in the room. Mad Guns typed a message in early, but maybe he's not here yet. Diane, how are you? Giant Game, Tracy J. Now you all know I love my sisters, and sisters only as far as I'm concerned in my life. So there are going to be people who listen or maybe even listen to the show after it's up and still have their own view on what I meant by the things that I said in this particular show. Debo's expat. Yes, brother. How are you? Yes. So I want everybody who doesn't know how I am, just give me a chance and let me speak on this. And it's not going to be the same as what is out there online bashing Black women. I came from a Black woman. I'm married to a Black woman. I'm a specialist in Black women. And where other mechanics may not be able to fix that vehicle called the Black woman, since I'm a specialist, I can listen to the sounds. I can hear the rattle here and there, or the squeak on a belt, and know exactly what it is. So this is why I have patience when I deal. There's not a Black woman who may be classified as bitter in this world that I couldn't handle. It can be a little trying sometimes. And when I was younger, I was pretty much, I'm not going to say attacked, but there were many women who had odds with me, and I'll tell you the reason why as we get along with the show. But I'm not going to hold back. but this is not an attack on Black women. And when I made this thumbnail, I made it extreme because in the past I have run across and had to deal with women who portrayed this imagery in their spirit. They might have had an hourglass shape, but those who I dealt with that were bitter in whatever way, this is what you see in their spirit. And I've known a lot of Black women who are older, who are heavy set, who are the sweetest ones you ever want to see. But we know when we see an image like this, what it's trying to portray. But I'm not being evil with it. It's just a mere way of saying, hey, I need to see this. All them cats, all the women sitting around, they ain't looking too friendly. Most people would get the picture. And that's why I said at the bottom, where does the anger come from? And can it ever be fixed? Yes, it can. If it's a severe situation, it's going to take more intense therapy, more intense help and understanding. When I said, where does the anger come from? I asked that question because many people don't understand. And if they understood where the anger came from, then maybe they would be able to deal with the initial onslaught of possible bitterness that may be hurled their way. But when you love someone, whether you're with them or not, and you want to be the healer, your love is going to have to be stronger than their aggressions to be able to get to the core of the issue. But too many times in this, and I haven't even started reading off the bulleted points yet. I'm freestyling. And even the writing is freestyle. But it sounds like I'm reading. But I understand them because they're no different than any other woman. But they had to go through things oftentimes from single-digit ages that were never acknowledged. Am I saying every Black woman who to be bitter was the victim of some type of molestation? While it may not have been a type or molestation per se, many Black women and most Black women I know living in America have been violated in ways where it's a silent pain after the violation. It could be where you never got that promotion on the job. It could be where the person you love hurt you so bad and you found out things about them. But it's not just one thing that's going to make you just perpetually bitter. It's many things. And I've known some that were seemingly beyond repair. Now, when I say repair, I'm not talking about them like they're a vehicle. I'm just talking about the overall mentality. But there's not one that I've met that I couldn't make laugh, that I couldn't make a connection with, and I couldn't ignite the flame of hope inside of their spirit. Whether they were younger, because we have some younger sisters that may be a bit bitter because of things that have happened to them, and we have some older ones, but it doesn't matter the chronological age. It's getting yourself from point A to point B to seeing a different way of things. Let me just look at some of these comments. Okay, let me see. All right, let me see. Okay, we have Shadow Band. Shadow Band, I'm not used to seeing you here, so I had to read the comments. So I didn't want to put it on the screen, put something adversarial. Well, I'm fair when somebody doesn't agree with me, but you know, I'm broadcasting across different platforms, and you have different types of people that just want to come. So I just don't click when I see a fat comment. But all the greetings and everything, I love it for everybody who's here. Shadow Band says, I saw this the other day when that porn guy was released. Brian Pumper was attacked by street goons, and Lipstick Alley was applauding and spewing hate against Brian. Well, you know, you're going to have people who blindly follow the narrative of a media that is not controlled by us. And because of their own prior feelings, they will get together and rah, 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 not knowing the situation. So if Brian Pumper was their son, or Brian Pumper was their father, and they knew what he did for a living, being a porn actor, that may hurt or make them feel uncomfortable, but that's still their father. That's still the son, that's still the brother, that's still the uncle, that's still the nephew. And they would not blindly applaud. So it's all a matter of perspective. You see? So let me get on with what I'm reading here. And let's take our time again tonight. And I have to say again, if I have a power blinkage, I'll call it. The lights might blink for 2 seconds and everything knocks me off. And if you don't hear me, just hold tight. I'll come on in through the phone. But I don't anticipate any issues. But, you know, it's whoever knows this, all of the regulars are finally here. Just let everybody else know who may not know and say, hey, he just shut off. You know, I would never just do that. So the historical context, a shift in family dynamics. Let me turn down this headphone here. There's nobody else talking, so I don't need to hear that. Just let me know in the chat room if there's any fluctuations in the sound where you can't hear me or there's any static. Historically, Black families in the 1940s and 50s were often characterized by a higher percentage of married couples. And children typically grew up in two-parent households. This was a time when, despite systemic racism, African-American families found strength and unity in their homes. A strong family foundation provided a sense of security, and young Black girls often saw examples of men who took care of their families. This embedded the hope that they too would experience this level of stability and love when they became adults. However, the rise of the feminist movement and changing societal values in the 1960s and beyond introduced new dynamics that led to the deterioration of the Black family unit. Many Black women were encouraged to embrace independence, often at the expense of having a supportive Black man in life. This was further exacerbated by systemic issues like mass incarceration, unemployment, and the stigmatization of Black men. As a result, many Black women found themselves in situations where their dreams of family and companionship did not materialize. The realization that their lives did not align with their expectations became a source of deep pain, leading to bitterness in many cases. There are several reasons why some Black women experience bitterness as they age. These reasons can range from personal disappointments to broader societal influences, and they vary depending on the woman's age group. Let's break it down by age. Now, I started it out with the age of 30 because we know in the 20s we can have bitterness, but it may not be as severe as when you get older. So I started there. Ages 30 to 40. Bitterness from unmet expectations. And this is not rule for everybody. Please, again, don't think I'm categorizing everybody in this particular lane. This is a generalization. But we don't get caught up in, well, you said, what if they're 29? Well, I'm 31. I'm not like that. My sisters in the chat room right now are not like that. And I know that many had to have gone through a lot and overcome it, and may have gone through a period of temporary anger and bitterness, possibly. But the way they talk to me and treat me and the way we treat and get along with each other, even over the internet and even in private phone calls most of the time, because most of us here, we talk on the phone. I know it's not like that. So for those who don't know the platform, as you listen to the words that I spoke, that I put together earlier, this is not about, they all bitter, they ain't no good, and I don't want to be with no black. No, this is not about that. I love you, my sisters, but anybody who goes to the doctor, and I'm not saying I'm the doctor, but what does the doctor do? He asks you what seems to be the problem. And you say, well, listen, I'm having a pain here, a pain there, and those symptoms, your description of it gives him a starting point from which to begin utilizing his expertise and training as a doctor. Now, that's in a perfect world, because we know when we go to doctors in real life, we got to be scared. You know what I mean? We don't know what they're trying to tell us. But let me read it now. Ages 30 to 45. Bitterness from unmet expectations. In this age group, many Black women grapple with the realization that their lives have not turned out the way they expected. Now, mind you, let me interject now. We're going to talk about men on another show. And there's a lot of overlap in what I say here about women and men. And there are some things that are unique to the male-female dynamic. Because this, what I just said, pertains to men also, right? The illusions sold to them by social media and popular culture that beauty and charm would secure them a wealthy partner have often been shattered. Failed relationships, career disappointments, and the pressure to have it all can lead to deep frustration. Ages 45 to 55, the pain of missed opportunities. At this stage, many, not all, many Black women start reflecting on the years gone by and may feel a sense of regret over opportunities missed, whether in relationships, careers, or personal aspirations. They may see their peers in stable marriages or successful careers and wonder why their own lives took a different path. Ages 55 and up, loneliness and regret. Many older Black women who find themselves without a partner, financial stability, or fulfilling relationships often feel a profound sense of loneliness. Many of these women have worked hard throughout their lives, only to end up feeling that they have little to show for it. The bitterness at this stage often stems from a deep disappointment with life itself. Here are 10 reasons why many Black women may feel bitter, and there may be others of other races, but I'm focusing on my sisters because nobody really tackles this issue. So I'm not saying I'm the doctor and have all the answers. I might be that person that comes in and checks your temperature and checks your heartbeat. I'm not a doctor, but I can assess a little bit, especially through personal experience. Number one, unrealized marriage and family goals. Now, let me say before I read this, and say it over again, not everyone wants to be married. Okay, I understand that, but many do, and some secretly do. Many women envision a life of partnership and family, only to find themselves alone as the years pass by. Yeah, it's not guaranteed, y'all. And then as we get older, and this is not just a female thing, we look back on our lives because our lives at that point are written in stone. We can't go back and change it. And we know what we were thinking, and we know our intentions, whether good or bad, we know how it turned out. And oftentimes we say, if I could have done it all over again, I would definitely change it. NFN Shaka, welcome on in. I got to say, NFN Shaka, thank you for the communications earlier. You're doing really well, and I'm proud of you, and I enjoyed the footage that you sent me. Beautiful. Thank you. But even when one has a seemingly successful life, of course, we're going to have ups and downs. And sometimes our downs are not too public. We've always heard a person say, listen, you may think I'm successful, but you don't know what I had to go through, right? So this is a case with a lot of our sisters that, and I might be jumping some of the categories here, but you don't know what it is. They may have raised children and did everything right, only to have those children disrespect them. Even as the father of the children didn't help out like he should if he was ever around. Not to paint pictures of Black as being not there in fatherless homes, because we know the majority of Black men are doing the right thing. Please excuse me, but let me take a sip of this. This is the first of many. Yeah, I had to deal with a situation to help someone out who got hacked into earlier today. So that's why I'm starting off with a voice that is compromised. Number 2, failed relationships. The emotional toil of serial failed relationships can weigh heavily on a woman, leaving her feeling as though she is unworthy of love. Now, let me just say, if you're a woman who feels that way, it has got to be an extreme case where you're unworthy of love, really and truly. I mean, you've got to do something terrible. And if you did, you'd be locked up if it was on that level. But you can feel that way. And within the last few days, I spoke with someone who felt that way. They didn't say, I felt unworthy of love. They said, oh, all my life, ever since I was young, when is it going to stop? I just been going through one turmoil and one set of chaos after the next. You see, the thing is, in this society, if we would just listen to the tears or try to wipe the tears off the Black woman's face and understand her. Now, listen, whoever wants to say I'm simping, go ahead and say it. I'll leave it in the comment area so you can reveal yourself. I had a very wonderful relationship with my mother, who was a Black woman, who would sit down and have these types of discussions with me. So there's no way there's any Black woman hate or ha, ha, ha. No, it's not that. And I'm not saying this to try to validate myself, improve myself, because the record shows. The record shows, okay? Whether you know it or not. All it took was a couple phone calls and I'd have this things filled up with people vouching for me because of the life I've lived. Even in my crazy wild days, I was a decent guy. Number 3, career disappointments. A lack of career success or being stuck in a job that feels beneath them can create a sense of failure. You know, before you even started working as a Black woman, I'm quite sure you've been through your share of disappointments. And then when you work hard, go to school, have a career, whatever it may be, or even if you didn't have a career, you had a job on a blue collar level. You had a job maybe that other people didn't take. and you clean toilets. Let's just say you did. No, we're not saying all black women clean toilets. Black women are everywhere in every area of expertise. But let's just say that's what you did. And you had 4 kids that you had to raise on your own. Maybe you did have a husband, but still, you sent them all to school. They're all successful and they're all doing the right thing. That's a good feeling. So even still, sometimes when we push so hard, we feel as though we could have done a little more. And somebody should come to you and say, job well done. But even on a job where you're doing maintenance, mopping floors, cleaning toilets, they don't know the success that you're creating. And others, other black men, and even other black women who are high up on the corporate ladder may throw off on you. But you're living a more righteous life than them, but you don't get the credit for what you're putting out. And after a while, being a human being, that can make you bitter. You see, I'm a bit bitter in America. I'm not gonna lie. The system of America. Because I'm gonna tell you from now, if I knew back then what I know now, Lancescurv, a whole different person, not different from who I am now, or sold out to a system that's against us, you would see more of the greatness come out. Because I can spot in this chat room so much greatness that was here. Mad Guns, the Lancinator. Let me turn into the Lancinator. I'll be back. But I'm bitter, not a bitter that rides me and hinders me from being who I am now, because I'm free now. See? I feel like Muhammad Ali did after the 3.5 years of exile that was unwarranted. That even at 61 years old, I have the enthusiasm of an 18-year-old who just got out of high school. I seriously do. And that's what has kept me young in spirit and not bruised and dent in extreme bitterness. But there's a taste in my mouth. There's an aftertaste of America in my mouth, and it angers me. Not necessarily bitter. Maybe I need to correct that. But it angers me. You're not going to hold me back. You're not going to stop my greatness. I ran out of time to do my daily shorts that I throw up on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube, but I'm still going to do it. But one of the things that I said was that anybody that you see that has achieved greatness in whatever particular or category they chose to excel in, pretty much, and I'll say guaranteed, I mean the top. Let's just take entertainment. Michael Jackson, right? He mastered singing, dancing, acting. I mean, everything. So we're like, hands down, he's the top, right? Now we can argue in boxing, but for the most part, we say the greatest is Muhammad Ali, not just because of what he did in the ring, because he took certain losses, but as a man standing up against the government, standing up for what he believed in, and them taking it away, his livelihood. And he said, yeah, well, you take it. I'm not going to change. Now we know he had a little infidelities. I'm not excusing that. But overall, like synchronized swimming, when you take away the top score and the bottom score and deal with the middle, what you are. Anybody that we've known as the greatest in whatever area, you could have the greatest lawyer, greatest doctor, greatest pilot, black, or anybody for this matter, but we're focusing on black folks. Wouldn't you know that somebody out there had the potential to be better than them, but they did not have the circumstances around them? They may not have possessed the drive or the discipline or the state of mind to maximize their talents and commit. So somewhere out on the street corner, when Muhammad Ali was boxing and bedazzling you with his skills, there may have been a guy out there drinking a 40 ounce, puffing a blunt, waiting on his order, a pork fried rice. You know what I mean? And he had this talent and ability that even in the street, he was overwhelming if he got in a fight. but he never cultivated because he didn't have it in him. So for those sisters who work on jobs or don't get the respect they deserve, you're that one who doesn't get acknowledged because of the circumstances around you that have clouded how people see you. I had a clip sent to me of a singer from the late 70s and early 80s in her heyday. She's still singing now, but she's doing little gigs and stuff. Evelyn Champagne King. Remember her? I don't know if it's right to let me make love to you, and shame. I can't sing, please don't leave the show and get or regurgitate your food. But I love those songs. And for what I remember, she was discovered, she was scrubbing toilets. I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, she was in Harlem Hospital working. I think it was the hospital. I retain information pretty good, but sometimes I get Joe Biden with it and forget things sometimes. Not that bad, though. But I believe she was scrubbing a toilet, doing a job, singing in the bathroom on her knees. And she got discovered. I'm not sure how, whether it was coworkers or whatever, but boom, she blew up. Just think of how many of our sisters have these type of talents. We're not just talking about singing, right? We're talking about it in every area, even when they don't know it. But they know something's inside of them that's great. But the world doesn't acknowledge it. Not that they're going to have to do it for you, but you're constantly pushed down on so many other levels. This can make you bitter. Who knows what would have happened with me if I allowed that to happen, or circumstances caused it to manifest and I'm on the night shift working some job. I've worked on many a night shifts on jobs, disrespected, looked down upon. So I can't say anything about a Black woman who may be bitter for those reasons. You can be bitter legitimately, but you still are strong because you ain't killed. We got other kind of people out here who go and shoot up a place to do, or, the women, they poison you. You know what I mean? They do all kind of crazy things, but there's reasons why. It's like a tangled cord that we have to untangle. You can't do it too quick. You get this rope that you have to tie something down, and somehow, some way, it gets all these knots in it. You're not going to do it quick. If you try to do it quick, it's tougher to untangle than to figure out a Rubik's Cube. You can do that faster, right? So the career disappointments can have an effect, especially when it's riding our minds. And that goes for men and women. As Black people in general, we never get acknowledged. So could you imagine our sisters? So a little bitter about that as time goes by. Isn't it understandable? Right? So we're going to talk about the healing aspects. So for anybody who wanted me to sit here and bash these Black women and they're going to be old and fat and have nothing but a bunch of cats, no, I put that up to attract people that they can learn a lesson today. And there are some now, I'm going to tell you some personal stories, right? And I still love my sisters and I still work along with you and I still see hope. Number 4, body image issues. Society's unrealistic beauty standards often leave women feeling unattractive as they age, contributing to low self-esteem. This is one, personally, this is Lance talking, this is one that I hate. I hate this one. What society has done to the mind of Black women to make them want to change who they are, to make them want to do something different to their hair. If you do, I'm not knocking you right now. The light in your skin, to feel that when you have the hips and the beautiful curves that you feel as though, oh, I'm big boned, you start apologizing. Now let's get down in it. You know that I've had a lot of experience with women in my life. And 9 times out of 10, when the intimacies start to begin, I start to get apologies, especially because when I was younger and kept my body a certain way, and you know what I used to do, they felt somewhat, oh, you know, I had a baby. You know, I got to go to the gym and lose a few pounds. Excuse me, this mark right here. Like, why are you saying this? You're beautiful. Let me tell you something. This is not a promiscuous type promotion, but I have been to bed with big women, and they blow my mind. I mean, this is not to talk about those things, but when I see a woman, look, we all can do a little better with the physical imagery in this society. We're working 1 and 2 jobs, sometimes got to grab fast food, sometimes don't get no sleep. And society puts this thing out, especially social media and Instagram, the BBLs and all. What's all that foolishness? I've dealt with Black women who basically had flat backsides. Were they any less Black? So why you feel funny now? You go, well, you know, I don't have as much as the others. This thing got our sisters messed up. It's your vibration. Don't worry. Yes, health reasons concern yourself. But when you connect in with who you are as a woman, it's a powerful thing. The mother of all civilization, and you worry about the Johnny-come-latelys and the lightening of the skin and cutting off the fat on your body or whatever. Now you see out here in Africa, it's not a good thing what's happening because the minds of many of our sisters are becoming compromised. That indoctrination. But it's going to take a long time for the fellas to not appreciate those shapely calves and thighs, backside, little waistlines. Even when they have a little belly on them, they still beautiful. Ain't no woman supposed to be walking around here like a bag of bones anyway. The heart and the soul of our sisters that are not touched by the Western world and the bitterness that can come with it is such a beautiful thing. Oh, this week, I'm going to check my audio on my small action camera because I want to go walking. I want to go walking and I want to show you like I used to, but you all know because of the work in the house and work is coming, I have to be here more. So it's more like solitary confinement sometimes. But I want to go out there walking so bad just because from early in the morning, I'm not saying it's going to be tomorrow morning. But around the weekend and back, because I do have to go down into the city and just wander around and laugh with the people and laugh with the sisters that are just not hung up on certain things. And they know they're beautiful. With all what the world may call a flaw. I know a beautiful young lady. Beautiful young lady. Some may say she's 40 or 50 pounds overweight. I don't think so. If you saw her proportions, if you saw how bubbly she was, and one of the things about her is that she's hung up on is that she still sells stuff out in the street. She has a little station and sells different things, cooks up different things. But I noticed one time she would always wear long skirts. Now don't accuse me of checking her out that way. You see things. Don't mean I'm looking, but I see everything. And she had bent down one time and the skirt rolls up halfway up her leg. And I noticed there was a severe scarring on her leg. Now, my parents raised me to be very polite. I didn't say, ooh, what's wrong with your leg, girl? I didn't say that. But she saw me cut my eye that way and she quickly pulled the skirt down. And she told me sorry. And see, here in Ghana, if you fall and bust your backside and the person didn't have nothing to do with it, oh, sorry, sorry. Because they're expressing that they're sorry that this happened to you. Well, she had an accident, but she's telling me sorry because I saw the leg. I said, you don't have to tell me sorry for nothing. She says, oh, let me tell you what happened to me. It was a couple of years ago. I was sitting near the side of the road and a car lost control and ran over her leg and crushed it. And she had to get it with the heavy stitches and pins, and you can see it. But that doesn't take away from her beauty. And I told her that. I said, you have a beautiful shape. I said, most women would love to have the shape that you have. And I don't think she's 50 pounds overweight, but she got some belly going on. But her waistline is still small. She's young, she's fertile, she's smart, she's loving, she's all those good things. And if a man saw her and saw the mark on her leg and turned her away with all of the wonderful attributes that she has, he'd be a fool to do so. You see what I mean? So whatever may have happened to you, even a C-section, even if the car ran over your leg or you lost your leg completely, don't make this world make you bitter. Don't make this world make you bitter, because you still have a beauty that money can't buy. Number 5, social media illusions. The false narrative sold by social media that wealth and happiness are easily attainable can create bitterness when reality doesn't align. You got to really understand now. We say social media like it's a Johnny-come-lately, but now social media has been with us for a very long time, right? Okay, this is 2024. So you mean next year, which is coming in a few months, YouTube would have been a part of many people's lives for the 20 years? So let's say you had a child 21 years ago, or got pregnant 21 years ago, and they were born and they came into the world in 2005, and they're old enough now to either come home and say, Mommy, I'm pregnant, or Mommy, I think I got this girl pregnant. That's a long time ago. But it seems like yesterday. And it's not just 2005. I mean, we've had Black Planet. We've had the different Lipstick Alley that was mentioned earlier. And from back in the 90s, the chat rooms and message boards and AOL and all this stuff. So let's go back to the mid-90s. Let's go back to the mid-90s and say 30 years. But I won't say until the mid and early MySpace. But when the phone married social media and you didn't have to rush home, like we always used to say, man, get home and check my emails. Find out if I got that job. You don't got to rush home now. It's in the palm of your hand. So those images that are bombarding our brain, and like I've said this before, not to be redundant, but a study was done from the late 1960s to the present time on all media, including social media, which wasn't around in the late 60s, that we were bombarded daily with X amount of advertisements. Now, it's like 1,000% over what it used to be, competing for our attention. And then we see, and we oftentimes compare, because that's human nature to do so. We have to consciously not do that. That's for everybody. We compare, and we have so many people putting out that illusion. Social media illusions. Used to be when a person purchased a new car or put themselves in debt, they couldn't wait to get around the old neighborhood that they didn't have time to visit and go ring your bell and say, hey, how you doing? And not even, hey, how you doing, man? I haven't seen you in a long time. Look what I got. That's superficial foolishness. It's worse now. Now when a person purchases a new vehicle, they get it off the lot, jump out the vehicle, and pose next to the vehicle, taking pictures to let you all know, I got me a new car. Don't even have drive it. But you're taking pictures because you want to show, and you feel worthy now, because all the other times, and this is not for everybody, This is not just for women, but women are part of that. And it can make men bitter too. But we'll talk about that on the Bitter Black Man show. It may not be tomorrow, but it's coming. And if I forget, please remind me, because I'm not afraid to talk about anything and go in detail and explain how I feel. Let me just take a look at the chat room, take a look over on this side of town. And Tracy J said, these BBLs killing y'all. These BBLs killing y'all, and the thighs don't match. That is so nasty. You're right. That is so nasty. Not because I have an eye for a nice physique, right? Formerly being in bodybuilding, you have an eye and you start to say, well, this needs this, not criticizing, but the goal of when you go into a gym to work out is to bring balance to the body. So you slap it on some concrete or whatever they put in the back of the backside, that is nasty. It is nasty and disgusting and artificial. And any man who lusts at these extreme BBLs, or even the ones that are not extreme, something wrong with you, because nothing beats a natural Black woman. The thighs, the backs. Let's we talk about BBLs now. A Black woman is not just butt, but let's talk about the Black woman's butt since we're on that subject. If your thighs are not in proportion with your butt, something's wrong. You walking around like half a mushroom. You know the mushrooms at the bottom is narrow and it comes out. Well, split that in half, and you got all this stuff sticking out. And what purpose does it serve anyway? Two bigger butt cheeks, and then what? Booty and butt is nice on a woman, naturally. It's pleasing to the eye. The whole woman from head to toe is pleasing to the eye. And me being an artist, and I can say this to you in a non-sexual way. I can say it in a sexual way, but we ain't going there tonight. But a woman, to me, ain't nothing more beautiful. I don't care what your DNA and your genetics have dictated your physical manifestation to be. Wear it, and wear it proud. Of course, take care of yourself. Don't let yourself get out of hand with the artificial substances and preservatives and all this stuff. You eat the bad, I'm not saying Black women, everybody. You eat the bad food and you start to, and now you want to take some more poison in the form of medicine to correct it. Go natural. There are some natural beauties out here in Africa. I can't go stick a camera in his face, but I want to show you. I may start a page on the site for Black women that are out here in a tasteful way. You see what I mean? So all of this fake foolishness, no. For the guys who go for that stuff, I guess they're all pornoed out, larger than life, and the lust overtakes them, and they're focusing with these strange fetishes. Yes, strange fetishes. We all have fetishes. But when you got to alter your body to that level to attract somebody, you're only attracting some twisted pervert who's only going to focus on your ass. They ain't there for you. And guess what? When they see the next one that appeals to them, they're going to be thinking about them. And if that other one came at them, you think they're going to turn it down? I'm going off topic now. I don't want to go off topic. The twin phenomenon, Riri says, has to be connected to our tribal heritage, rain dances, ancient cultures. I think it may be a reawakening of our DNA, but we're unaware of it because we're still brainwashed. You're absolutely correct. But it's been twisted to come against us because in Western society, we see it as just a sexual thing. I see Black African women in certain functions and certain tribal ceremonies, dancing and grinding your hips and shaking your butt is not to entice What are you going to do? Act like you don't have an ass? It's a muscle. It's a very crucial muscle. You would not be able to walk up the steps if you didn't have muscle in your butt, big or small. And it's a beautiful thing. In New York City, for those who can remember where I lived, in my middle living room, I had black and white photos near the ceiling. Posters, actually. I remember one of Bob Marley, and it wasn't straight up and narrow. It was sideways. You know, the pictures were wide, like the YouTube screen as opposed to the Facebook screen. So I had Miles Davis, I had Bob Marley, I had Billie Holiday. It's a classic picture of her in front of the microphone holding a wine glass, and she had her head down. Classic picture. I want to find that again and have it printed up. I had Muhammad Ali. Of course, you know, I got to have Muhammad Ali, and I had the classic Malcolm X with him looking out the window with the firearm. And then I had a picture of a black woman, tastefully done. The photographer was at the foot of the bed, back thumb. And the black woman was a rich, sweet, dark complexion, white pillows, white sheets. She was on her stomach, laying face down, except that she was raised up a little bit on her elbows and her face turned to the side. So you didn't see the profile, but you saw the shape of the cheek and the jaw. I'm going to replicate this photo, but guess what? She was nude. But you didn't see the feet because she was under the covers. You didn't see the calves because it was under the covers. You didn't even see all of her thighs because it was under the covers. But oh, what a beautiful rounded backside she had, but it was not a sexual picture. See, I'm an artist and I'm almost sexual with, no, I said I'm almost sexual. I didn't say I'm homosexual. That didn't sound, but I'm almost sexual when I'm dropping ink on paper. It's pleasurable to me. Because see, while some guys can only drop sperm in a vagina and they create a child that they don't want to take care of, I'm dropping ink on the paper to create a visual that will live beyond me and convey to you a feel or a message, oftentimes in a comedic way. But this picture, while it was very sexy, anybody who could see or think that that's all it was, they didn't understand why I hung that picture up on my wall. And it wasn't no BBL. The woman was somewhat lean, built like a track star, but had that shape like a person, but she wasn't an athlete. And it was a beautiful picture. Just like when you see, and I'll get back to the points, when you see paintings done out here of the African woman breastfeeding her child. And she ain't trying to hide it. It's not like she got one breast out and she's covering what the baby's doing. No, she got both of them bad boys out and she's breastfeeding. And I see this in public every day when I go out. And oftentimes when I'm walking with my camera, I turn the camera away out of respect. Now, once or twice, I wasn't aware in the distance that there was somebody breastfeeding. And I put it up. And most of you saw it and didn't really see it. But I had a couple of guys come, man, you need to get a close-up on them titties, man. Them titties look good. Come on, man. The breast has been sexualized in the Western world. And while a breast is still attractive to me as far as its function to feed our children, it's still there for me. You know, I mean, I'm a man, but I came up in that place, but I know where it comes from. So ladies, don't get caught up in the projections of what a man or a lustful man or a lustful industry who's trying to engineer how we feel about ourselves, who's trying to engineer how we look at our practices. Because when it comes to the twerking classes that I saw, it was always a Black woman leading the class. And it was full of white women that had no ass. Yeah, I said it that way because it rhymes. A Black woman leading the class full of white women that had no ass. Didn't know how to twerk or move. Didn't have nothing to move, them Gumby built women. So don't let anybody make you feel shamed however you're built. Because as powerful as you are in the seen and unseen ways, there's so many who wish they were you. And the only way to get back at the jealousy of you is to make you feel less than who they are or who you are. Sorry. They want you to feel less than them. It wasn't a Freudian slip. That was appropriate. They want you to feel less than who they are. First, they got to make you feel less than who you are and not know who you are, right? Number 6, financial struggles. Women who enter their later years without financial security may feel frustrated and trapped by their circumstances. And again, it's when you hit certain ages, you begin to look back more so. And that goes for all of us. I mean, when I was 19, 20 years old, I told everybody I'm going to be a millionaire before I'm 30. I would love to be a 100,000 there before the next few years. I don't even think I'm 1,000 there right now until that check hit the bank. But I have a different outlook on life, and I have an inner peace that from all the things I've learned, I know I can do anything that I wish to do if I put myself to it, but I'm not going to push myself like that. But yes, it happens to men too, but many of our sisters will think about their life, and these are things that can cause frustration. A Black woman who may be bitter didn't get bitter overnight. There's reasons why she may be bitter, justifiably so. Number 7, broken family dynamics. For women who invested heavily in raising children, watching those children make poor life choices, example, incarceration, can be deeply painful. I know from personal experience how much it hurt my mother to see my older brother addicted to drugs for many years. So this is something I'm talking about that I know. My mother had a higher system of spiritual knowledge, and that's the only thing that carried her through life. But even then, I feel that the emotional toil, certain circumstances, and I will explain it, I have to, caused her to be on out of here. Brief story. My mother had my brother in 1952. My mother met my father, I believe, in 61. She wasn't married when she had my brother. It was a slick-talking West Indian detective from a precinct on 135th Street in Harlem, who's this pretty young, naive thing that was in Juilliard School of Music with a promising future, lighter skin, which didn't matter to my mother, but he just couldn't help himself. And he didn't want to follow through with a commitment, although I do know that he gave money to help support his son. So my brother grew up without having that fully in his life. He knew his father, but there wasn't any real connection. So when my father came along, my brother was a young boy who was about 9 years old. Now, you know, at that age, it's a little funny. Who is this man? Now, here's my father, a hardworking Jamaican man, and he treated my mother right. Well, I came to be in April of 1963. My brother didn't have a problem with me. My brother had the issue with "you're not my daddy" syndrome. And he didn't want to listen to him, even though my father took him as. So it wasn't a thing where my father was a stepfather who rejected the stepson because another man's seed put it inside his wife. No, it wasn't that. He took to the streets, started out with weed, got into heroin for many years, incarcerated, still college educated. My mother had the hopes of him rising up for the potential that he had because he was very, very brilliant. And from what I'm hearing, he's still alive. The last time I laid eyes on him was 1998. I always would hear my mother speak to him on the phone or when he would come around. And he came back for a time when I was younger and lived with us. Then crack was out. And when I saw him at the front door, half the size that I ever saw him, he wasn't a stocky guy like me. I get that from my father. But he was a little taller and slender. So we were different builds. But for him to be half his size was frightening to me when I saw him. And I knew he was coming home because he was at the end of his rope. And my father talked with him. My mother talked with him. I excused myself because I already knew what it was. And, you know, he was allowed to stay. He was exhausted. He was on crack. And it was a joy for him to be there to catch up on moments and bond as a brother with him. But we never spoke about why he came back. Because you see, as long as he was on that stuff, no matter what drug it was, he wasn't allowed to be there. He stole stuff at times. And my household was a wholesome household. I had a wonderful childhood. That was the only thing that didn't bring harm to me, but my father wasn't going for it. And there's some things that I discovered that my mother would not dare tell my father. I remember getting ready for school early one morning, elementary school, and moving my underwear to the side and seeing a gun. He didn't have the guts to use a gun on anybody, but I'm quite sure it was a good prop when he was sticking somebody up in another borough. Because I know he got arrested for that at one point, right? I remember sometimes when he was supposed to be clean, I would see him nodding and nodding. And my mother was trying to back me and say, well, you know, he's working so hard, he's falling asleep. She wasn't an enabler. As much as I love her, that's what she was for him. So when it comes time to families and these dynamics, I know them well before even picking up a book about it. Yes, thank you so much. I'm receiving an email. Thank you so much. I mean, a voicemail. I see it. Listen, let me, I'm sitting down so long. Let me raise up this stand so I can stand up because my legs are losing circulation because we're going to get down tonight. Because I'm going to sit back down when it's time to read. Let me just take another sip. And I think I remember telling you all, and I'll sit back down. Let me just move over here and get comfortable. I'm all crunched up. Why am I all crunched up? Why am I all crunched up in my own house? I told you the time when the Planters Peanuts metal jar that might have been 4 inches tall and had a plastic yellow cap on it. Planters Peanuts, you know the peanut, the cane, he's leaning to the side with the hat chilling. Well, if you turn American currency on the side, it's when it's empty, of course, without the peanuts, it's the perfect height to roll up money and put it on the side. So I remember back in either 74 or 75, I think 1974 was the first comic convention that I went to in Manhattan at the big expensive hotel. And you see all the comic book artists and you see some people in costumes trying to fool you, but they're not the superheroes. I wanted to meet John Romita, Stan Lee, John Buscema. What's the other one who drew Thor? Oh God, Jack Kirby, all these classic artists that I met. And some who were into fantasy art that the names forget me. Listen, y'all, I've been exposed to a lot. Thank God for the parents that I have. And I say have. They've transitioned now. But their energy is still with me and their energy is somewhere. And wherever they are, they love me and I'm here and I love them. And this is what drives me on. Because there's a lot to my story that people don't know that I had to endure, that I see. And that's why I say I could never hate a black woman, but we have to talk about certain things. I'm the biggest nurturer of black women, even some that have been bitter to me. Now, I may have a slick mouth and on the initial onslaught answering back, but I'm coming back to them and apologizing. Even sometimes I didn't have to, because I understand what they had to go through. And my mother never ended up, but my mother was hurt time after time. Why? Because she had hope in my brother. She dreamt that he would rise to the occasion. My brother knew everything damn near. He graduated from college. He can talk to anybody on the street corner up into a white corporate boardroom and bedazzle all of them with his knowledge of the world. I ain't shit compared to him. His talk game backed up by knowledge. I picked up so many things from him, and he always had high hopes for me. He said, Lancey, because you know, everybody back in the day called me Lancey because my father's name is Lance. My name is Lance. Actually, on the birth certificate, it's Lancelot. I don't want no British name. But if I am a Lance, take off the lot and leave me the spear that I am to cut through falsehood. But he would have high hopes for me, and me and him had a lot of talks when he was okay. And I saw him relapse back into stuff. I saw how it hurt my mother. I saw other mothers who talk with my mother on how she was so strong because they had sons and daughters that were on drugs too. Heroin was a big thing. And then here comes crack. And here I am being clean. My father drilled it in my head. No drugs, not even no steroids, nothing. Nothing. This is why I did the girlfriends thing. Because I was running away from ever hurting my parents too. And this is not about me. I'm sorry. I'm just venting for a second. We're going to get on back on the points. But it is relevant because my mother basically was taken off this earth when she finally realized that for him, not that I'm going to say there's no hope, but she was exhausted hoping for him. Exhausted hoping for him. And I came on my lunch break from home to go and lunch there. I was working the night shift, so it had to be 7 or 8 o'clock. I remember Arsenio Hall in Farrakhan. I missed it. And something to do, there was a program on with Richard Nixon and some other, while I was eating. And she already had a stroke in 1993, the first one. The second one was April of 1994. I'm sorry to bore y'all with this. I just want to get this off my chest. But this is to show you that sometimes being bitter may be sometimes better than dying. And maybe a lot of you won't understand that. But when I would see the hurt on my mother's face down through the years when she was happy, that it seemed like he was staying off of that stuff. And to realize that he went back all the times that she did for him. I saw it, but she didn't think I saw it. My father had to make him leave when he was bringing that stuff, and them kind of people were coming around. This was a wholesome household, a clean household. He wasn't going for that. He was a real man. So my mother arranged in the next block up so that he would have a place to stay. She would pay the rent for the small apartment that she had. I don't know what she was working for. This is how much she loved him, even though she knew that he was still messing with that stuff. And they kept that away from me. They kept that away from me. My father didn't know that she was helping him out. She even asked me, Lancey, I'm going to buy you a TV next week when I get paid, but can I use the that you have in the room, you know, for I said his name, so your brother can have it? I said, take it. You can take it. The last thing I want to say is what I started. I had the little Planters peanut thing with, I saved up about $500 in 1975. And that was my last year in summer camp up near Canada, where Michael Rockefeller was and all these corporate bigwigs, because my father had a hookup with these rich people and they got me in. So now I'm back home doing side jobs, hustles with my father, cutting grass, shoveling snow. I'm going to have some money for this thing. People just gave me money sometime. Hey, man, I know what you're doing. You're a good kid. Here, take this. So I finally had $500 saved up, and the comic book convention was next week. And my other buddy, who has the same name as my brother, he was going, and about 5 of us were going. And 3 days, I had a hiding place. My brother wasn't living there. There was a little ledge high up between my room and the next room, but there was a wall built there. And it was just like a unique, pretty looking thing, but it was a place where you can hide things. And so when it came time the night before to count my money to go to the comic book convention when I was 12 years old, I reached up and I couldn't feel the can. I stayed there for 20 minutes up on a ladder, looking at the place that did not have the can, but I still kept feeling around for it. I cut the lights out and maybe I didn't see it. I was going through where's my money? But in the back of my mind, I knew what happened to it. I was crying. I was so hurt. I knew my brother had his ways, but he stole from me now. And I went to my mother. I didn't want to tell my father. I don't know what he would have done. He was never abusive to my brother, but my brother was a grown man now. And she cried. And she cried. And the next day, early in the morning, when I was supposed to go to the convention, she handed me a can of Planters peanuts that was empty. And it had not $500 in it, but it had $800 in it. And she said, son, here's your money. I said, Mommy, where did you get that from? Where did you get that from? She had tears in her eyes. She said, don't worry about it, son. Just go ahead. And when I walked out the front door and my friend's father was picking us all up, and one of the older brothers were coming with us. We were 12 years old with that kind of money. New York City was that bad, but still, he wanted to go to the convention too. I looked down in the front yard and saw all of these peanuts tossed out. My mother got up early that morning and went and got the Planters peanuts can and threw the peanuts away because she knew I was going soon. She probably could have put it in a bag, but she didn't want to bring it inside and make me see it. She cleaned it out and put more money than I had in there originally. And I had a good time, but I learned a lesson that day of what Black women can go through when they have a son or daughter going through things that they didn't expect. And I'm an empath, and she's an empath. I gotta act tough sometimes to act like I'm not feeling stuff so I can understand the bitterness of a mother, which my mother wasn't bitter. But when I came home to eat lunch, and my girlfriend, who at the time I was about to marry, and I did, and she was my wife, not Mrs. Scurv, but she was a precursor to, but she wasn't the real Mrs. Scurv, as I found out. But we had 3 kids together eventually. And she was taking care of my mother. My mother was up and about, but she stopped working and she had the stroke. She couldn't talk like she used to. If you want to hear a beautiful singing voice, I mean, Juilliard is and she sung opera in many different languages. And when you heard her speak and do dramatic speaking, it would sit you down. The beauty in her voice taken away from the stroke. Usually strokes take away the best attribute that you have. And so I'm sitting down eating and I finished and I had to go back to work. And she got up to walk me to the door. And Farrakhan was on TV and I didn't want to go. And she turned to me while I was watching the TV and she said, son, I'm sorry. I said, what are you saying sorry for, Ma? She stuttered a little bit, you know. She said, I don't want to burden you. I said, you're not a burden to me. And I'm telling you some personal stuff here, and I'll get on with the show. I don't know why I'm on this tangent, but thank you for listening. Because these are the things I cry my sleep at night sometime when I think about them. These are the things that drive me to do different things and never give up. You keep coming at me with stuff, you knock me down, I'm going to keep coming back. Because that's what I was taught to do. It don't mean I'm better than nobody else, but you ain't going to crush my spirit. You can kill my body, but you ain't going to crush my spirit. Because I come from a bloodline of great spirits. But I hated to see her spirit begin to get crushed. But people didn't know, when I inherited that house, they thought I got insurance money and money from her dying. We had joint debts, and she had cashed out the insurance. She cashed out the insurance at the request of my brother, who was manipulating her. They had a joint account, and he was begging people, saying she was sick and getting money so he can go smoke his. All right? I'm going to do a whole show on Patreon or do it like on a conference line or whatever. I'm not, and this is not even personal, y'all. So if I got a little bit of crazy in me, it's because of all of this stuff. That's why certain things I don't tolerate. That's why I'll always love Black women, no matter how bitter they are. And I don't care if anybody wants to say, okay, you know, you hating on them. Sometimes you got to spank them sometime. I don't mean physically spank them, but sometimes our sisters need correction the same way the brothers need correction. I come from a different generation. And so I said, Mommy, you could never be a burden to me because you brought me into this world and you raised me to be the man I am, just like Daddy, who passed away at that point 4 years before. And so I know she leaned on me more and didn't want to make me feel like she was leaning on me. My fun days were over. I didn't want them no more. I wanted to stand up and undergird the world if I had to. There was no shucking and jiving with me. I said, Mommy, you could never burden me. Remember that. And I had to go on to work. And I was there only but for about 15 minutes. My old girlfriend that I eventually married a month later gave me the call that my mother fell down by the side of the bed. And on the table next to her was a stack of bills that I paid. And she would give a little bit and try to push on, oh, take this, take that. I don't want your money. Ripped up. That was her last conscious moments because of the disappointment that I would overhear her speaking or trying to speak on the phone of my brother. And she felt so guilty that she was a burden to me. And so they say sometimes that if a person can be looking down, and I know that pretty much it may not be that way, but the vibration of love can be felt miles away, not even through technology. But I know she knows I got the baton in my hand and I'm still running the race. I ain't perfect. I'm a man. I get horny sometime like anybody else. But at the end of the day, this is why I stay up and I wake up with something productive in my mind. But if you cross me or cross anybody that's doing something righteous, I'm going to steamroll you. And I knew. And I hurried up and got back. I said, don't move her, call the ambulance. I'll be there. And when I got into the room, she was sitting down in what looks like an uncomfortable position on the floor, leaning back on the bed, and her arm lifted up and rested on the bed. But she was basically with little brain activity from that point. But I knew she can hear me. And I spoke to her as a son to a mother because I knew probably she wouldn't hear me after a while. And that was the truth. And so a lot of people turned their back on me at that point. I was in my own world and I had to make major adjustments before I jumped into that very dysfunctional marriage. So I really never had a break. Yes, I have breaks now, but there were times when I was all alone. And that was one of my biggest fears, not having a brother that was on his feet. I'm going to go back to the show. But when I got that call 4 months after she passed away from my brother, "Hey, Lancey, what's going on?" I said, "Nothing much." I said, "You heard mommy died, right?" "Yeah, I heard. I just wanted to know if I got anything." I'm glad it was a phone call. I'm glad it was a phone call. I'll end it at that because there's so much more I want to say and I don't want to waste people's time. Let me sit back down. Let me get a sip of water, y'all. I don't even know what number I was on. Financial struggles. Yeah, we did that one. Broken family dynamics. When I saw incarceration, that's what made me tick off. I'm so full of emotion sometimes. Not emotional like I'm some sissy or whatever. And I don't know why they try to make it seem when black men have emotion that they're weak. That's nuclear power, man. That if you can direct that righteously and focus that righteously, you can move the world single-handedly damn near. I wouldn't suggest trying that, but when you need that boost, it's right there for you. And I tap into that all the time. All right? So that's what, when I saw incarceration and addiction, that's what got me. And that hurts me to this day. That bills and the disappointment of her son, who to the very last day, damn near. And the turning point in that is she let him back in to live the year before on the top attic floor. I'm not going to tell the story again. I'm going to tell all of that one time. So if you want to go back and listen to it, you can listen to it. Basically a crack house up there. Even the drug dealers are telling me, yo, Lance, what is your brother doing? I'm like, what is he doing? He's got girls going up there and they turn tricks for crack. And they giving him some of the sex and giving him some of the crack just so they have a place. So you'll know how I went up there and beat everybody's ass as they were on their way out. So to go through all that, lose your mother, or a transition, and then when all that happened, even before that happened, I wasn't working for a while. A lot of spiritual things were happening to me. A lot of spooky things were happening to me. Let's put it that way. Let's keep on with the show, y'all. Number 8, unfulfilled romantic promises. Women who dedicated years to men who ultimately betrayed them often harbor resentment. Still got some emotion going on, so I'm talking all funny. Often harbor resentment toward their former partners and relationships in general. Yeah. I thank the Creator for my father who gave his life to my mother. And I saw that. And because of me witnessing that, but at the same time, being so much against drugs because I could see what it was doing, my father made me promise day after day that I would never touch anything. And I didn't. And this is why my drug of choice was women. And in my mind at the time as a young man, I saw how bad drugs could be. So in my mind, that had to be a good thing because I can't get addicted to that. And yes, I ran right into a woman addiction. And I hurt some hearts, but I never really wanted to lie. I never did because they were coming at me. And so from young, and y'all know what happened to me when I was 5 years old with a female cousin who was probably like, how old was she? Like 30 years older than me when I was 5 years old. So I had a lot of pre-wiring with me. So this is why when it comes to little empathy, to see past the bitterness of a woman who might be labeled as a bitter black woman, I can see through a lot of the initial rage and resentment and stuff. But there was one woman who was the ultimate bitter black woman who I just couldn't seem to reach. And after I finished those 10 points, we got 2 more. I'll talk about her. But the unfulfilled romantic promises, let me tell you something. When you get older, it ain't like you say, I'm older. I'm 61, but that's a strange number. I know I'm not 20 or 30. I know I'm a little older. I know when I try to lift things, I'm still strong. I don't mean penis. I'm saying like they say it in the South. Hey, man, you cock strong. But things a little heavier for me now. But compared, most people are saying, especially the African brothers, oh, you are 61. You are stronger than me, and I am 25. I'm like, don't say that. Don't suit my head up. But you just never see yourself that way. So this is what a lot of people don't understand about aging. That woman who may have had unfulfilled romantic promises doesn't mean she's walking around horny, but she got feelings too. Look at these women on the banner, right? This is an AI rendition. You know, some people have 6 fingers and 18 toes, and then it comes out right. All depends how you put the prompts in. But if you can look past the artistic flaws of the artificial intelligence and look at these women, they get horny too. They want to be kissed on the neck and have the ear nibbled too. They wish a man, and then now they feel sometimes like, oh my God, you know, I don't look the way I used to, and no man would want me, but they won't admit it, but it backs up. It's like they have feelings, man. Sorry to say, man, I'm talking to everybody, men and women. That's just how I talk. And so we don't see that. And sometimes those resentments back up even more so because a lot of men may not pay them any mind, no matter what they look like. You know, a lot of men, they caught up in the numbers. Oh, you 60 years old, you too old. That's too old for me. It's just a number. I've ventured into the world of many different age groups when I was a younger guy. You'd be surprised. They ain't no different in their feelings. But because they have more behind them possibly than in front of them, I'm not talking about their backside, y'all. Get your mind out the gutter. More behind them as far as years. They have a lot to reflect on. Like I said, it wasn't too long ago when there was someone who was speaking to me and they started going through a down period and they were speaking about their life. And we have to understand that all of us, even Black women, who we depend on to be the stabilizers, the ones who are going to undergird the strong Black woman. Come on, y'all. She ain't Superwoman, but in many cases, she has to be. And I'm going to tell you, in 99% of the cases that I've dealt with those who are called bitter Black women, being a Black woman is a thankless job. A thankless job where the job description, if you roll it out, it'll roll out like toilet paper all through the room and down the road. And then the world expects more. And they're chastised when they don't produce. They're chastised by their own man when they have a man. Most often, when they come from working 2 jobs, that no matter whether they're on the high up on the corporate ladder or cleaning shitty toilets, that they never get the praise and appreciation and compensation for what they do. And here that man is, he might have a job, he might have 2 jobs. But he's out in the street. Maybe he's driving trucks, looking at ass all day. Horny, wanting to use that hardworking Black woman as a sperm receptacle and use her as a glorified friction provider. Now she got to come home. She didn't even wash yet. She didn't even cook food for the kids yet and get their clothes together, and he should be helping. I'm not saying all black men are like this. There's some wonderful black men that I know of that I can call right now and get them on the show and give them unlimited praise. But too many times, they're supposed to be everything to everybody. But nobody gives a, I don't want to say no cusses, they don't give a damn about them. While this man just pounding them with no feeling, no connection, just wants to empty his balls. And she feels used even at home. She feels violated even at home. There ain't no weekend. Let's get our rest and let's get the kids squared away and send them over to their aunt or their grandmother and we can take time and make love. No, he want to get off now. He's still in the bed, sleep, and she's working 2 jobs. And while she's washing up in the shower in the morning, still half asleep, and his slimy stuff just running down the side of her leg reminds her of how she violated, and she got to repeat the process with no thanks at all. That's what makes a bitter black woman. Understand, I told you in the beginning, this is going to be a different talk from the heart. Let's just understand. That's why I put, where does the anger come from? I'm telling you where it comes from. And can it ever be fixed? Yes, it can. So don't blame them when you see them. Understand that we as men and as a total society, I'll say other women too, but we as men have failed. If it's not your woman, you can treat her like a woman. You can treat her with respect. Just because she's not giving no PUSSY, that don't mean you got to look past her. Smile and tell her how beautiful she is. Help her out if she's over and has to put back 2 loaves of bread. Say, hey, I got this. Listen, bring 2 more. I don't have to tell you that I've done that because I've done that. And I've had love reciprocated to me greatly, even recently. And even then, I cried because I know the universal laws are real. And so we have a job to do. If there are any bitter black women in our path, we got a job to do. It's not going to be overnight. Number 9, isolation. As friends and peers pass away or move on, many older women feel isolated and unable to form new social connections, leading to bitterness. You mean I worked all my life? I've given everything? Yes, and I'm glad you are, sister. My little voice, my little text that came in. Giving my everything to this man that ran off with another woman after giving him 20 years of my life and giving him my womb and 4 and 5 kids. And now I'm sitting here. I'm finally retired. I don't have much. But my friends have moved around to different states. Some are in homes because of health issues. And this is the time the system lied to us and told them that we'll get what we get and we can enjoy our golden years. And I'm sitting up here in a room watching TV. I go to church more now because it's more of a social gathering than worshiping the Lord. I'm lonely. I'm horny. I'm not going to lay down with anybody. And I wouldn't approach nobody because they ain't going to probably want to be with me. So what am I going to do? When this stuff is backed up and it begins to be a stench, but it's not a stench. It's dignified as you are when you put on your Sunday best or your Saturday night best or whatever best that you have on as far as your threads are concerned. If I make it where you can't go to the bathroom, my mouth is foul tonight, but after a while, you're going to shit yourself. I don't care how much red bottom shoes you got on, how much of a what's the designer name there? The bags and whatever. They got all kind of bags. You can fill that space in. They're going to smell it. They were like, oh man, she stinks. But when you see the frustration in what they call the bitter black woman, you're going to say, man, her attitude stinks, man. What's wrong with you, lady? You just mad. You just angry. And the ignorant ones were just, you just mad because you ain't got a man. You just mad because nobody wants you, which further frustrates them. But if we sat down and spoke to them with understanding, maybe it wouldn't be so bad. Maybe we'd feel better about ourselves for doing the job that we're supposed to do and part of the work in our community that we neglect. Just the same way many of us barricade ourselves in our apartments or our subdivisions way away from the so-called hood and say, yeah, them black kids ain't no good. I don't know what happened with them. I'm glad I moved away from them, but it's us that has dropped the ball. We can't save everybody, but we can do our part with what's in our path. You see what I mean? What's in our path? That's what we're supposed to deal with. Like they say in the furniture stores, like, this is a leather couch, all the parts you touch. No, I don't want no leather couch like that. I want a leather couch with everything leather. Not just the front and the part that I touch. And what about the back? Leather? Nah. But we're supposed to deal with what's in our path and a little more. And if all of us gave that overlap a little more, our community would be airtight. Because there was once upon a time that even in slavery, when we were being straight up killed, if you looked at Miss Ann's ankles and you were out on the field toiling, they're going to lynch you. And if you grew to certain desirable proportions in the slave master's eyes, I don't care how strong of a buck husband you had, he had to get out and hear you making noise with him. You didn't want that man. And it might have tickled, but it wasn't something you wanted, and your man was outside. So all of this deep psychological damage. See, some people can say, well, Lance, you're going a bit too far. I was with you at the Bitter Woman show, but you weren't around in slavery, and your women weren't around in slavery. But this stuff is passed on. The intangibles carry on with us, that even if we have a perfect family, there's something that's going to trickle down as a dysfunction on a spiritual and emotional and psychological level. We are connected to those who came before us. We just look at it as the physical traits. Oh, you ain't nothing like your parents, but you look just like your granddaddy. Girl, you look just like your grandmama, but you don't look nothing like your mama. You think it's just physical? It's mental, emotional, spiritual. And we're the ones who are here now alive to correct the things that go on passed down in the subsequent generations. And a lot of us ain't doing our damn job. We're supposed to clean this up. We can say we didn't do it, but it's for us to clean it up. That's the hand that we were dealt with in the deck of life coming into this flesh in this time period. This is not by chance. You got so many people looking around and, he coming out the clouds. It's you. It's the spirit in you. I didn't put up the word that I saved today. I'll do it later on. But there was a bird that hit my roof so hard. Now, before the ceilings were done the fancy way with the POP, any bird landed, a lot of big birds that land on the roof, boom, 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 boom. I swore somebody was trying to break in. I'd get up with the machete and maybe something else and run down the length of the house. Before I had the wall around, I'd do the perimeter. Man, one night I jumped up 35 times. I couldn't sleep. I looked like a raccoon the next morning. I was so tired. Those damn birds. But I grew to learn what it was all about. And those were big birds. Well, I heard a noise so loud. I just knew maybe maybe a fifth of a mile down the road, somebody let off a firearm. It couldn't have been a firearm. It sounded like a cannon. And so I walked from the master bedroom toward the catwalk. There's a little private balcony. Then I just glanced. Someone said, look over the window and look down in the area there. And I saw a bird. But you know how birds sit, before when they're on the ledge and they're about to fly off and the wings are, tucked back and they're sitting there. This bird looked like its back was broken because it was leaned back. The beak was pointed up and it looked like its back was broken, if you can identify a bird back. I said, oh no, that's what I heard. Something made the bird hit the roof that hard, and then it had to come down and hit the concrete. So I went out and I brought a little piece of material with me, because if I was to touch this bird, looked like a nice, clean, pretty bird. We don't know. So I got near it and I took time. It saw me. It couldn't move. It was in shock. This was today. I'm going to put it up in the community section. And I went to it. I'm talking, little birdie talk. You all right, little bird? You all right, little bird? And I took my hand. Of course, the cloth was there. And I touched it. It didn't move. It was in shock. So I stayed there with it for a little while. And I put my hand over it real gently. And I sat it up proper on the ground. And then I backed up again. So I was thinking to myself, should I try to get it something to eat, or, some bread or some water or something? But this was it was a little bird, but it was fat. So I said, let me stay here with it. And then his eyes started to open up more, because the eyes were like squinched. It was open, but it was like it was grimacing in pain. Not from me, it couldn't make a grimace, but the eyes showed me a whole lot. So when the eyes began to open, it wasn't scared of me anymore. So it let me, without jumping or being scared, I picked it up from up top, not from the bottom. I picked it up and I put it on the ledge right there by the private balcony, so that it can see the trees and the other birds, and it could recuperate there until it felt like it can fly. By this time, I still had the phone recording it, and he jumped off onto the roof below. It was like about maybe 1.5 feet. I said, yeah, I know he's on his way now. And I stopped the recording. When I took 2 steps away, I heard something scratch the roof, because I have a metal roof. Bad boy was already 2 yards over, flying away full strength. But I'm just so happy that I could have done that. You know what I mean? I don't know how I got on that topic. But the bottom line is that when you see what the world may call a bitter black woman, maybe she needs something from you. Maybe there's a huge void that she may not feel that she can fill. Something happened for her to be that way. And most of the brothers who are looking for something kind of easy to get into, if you know what I mean, they don't want that responsibility. Oh man, that BITCH got attitude, man. I can go and find me something easier than that. Come on, man. How many orgasms can you have in a day? Huh? Is that your only goal? I know I can break the bitterness out of a bitter black woman. I don't mean break it like I'm going to come over here, let me crack your back. I'll snap it out of you. But just do the treatment alone. Nothing sexual. Because they're not ready to really receive it all the way, even if their body is calling for times in the middle of the night. They're not ready to receive the whole thing, which the whole thing is not sex, but it shouldn't be about that. They're in emotional shock from the accumulation of emotional toxins and spiritual disappointments and so many things. So the illustration for many was misleading, but I only used it to lure those who may not understand or may not understand what I was saying or thinking. One more, number 10. Societal devaluation, the constant undermining of Black women's capabilities and contributions by society can take a toll. Didn't we talk about that earlier? Contributing to a feeling or feelings of worthlessness. We need you. We need all hands on deck in our community. And just like everything in nature, there's self-healing. If we truly unify with each other, we don't need anybody else outside of our community. We can heal ourselves. All we have to do is allow the love to flow in the understanding. Because when I see a sister out here, but even more so in America. And why do I say more so? These are my sisters too, but it's a different culture and mindset. When I'm in America, around my Black American sisters, I can read everything a lot more because I'm used to the inflections in their voice, the expressions on their face, the nonverbal gaze in their eyes. Gaze. I ain't talking about no gaze now. I can read that better. If you take a doctor who was in France and can only speak French, and now you send him to America, well, he's going to have to learn the language, or he's going to be giving all kinds of prescriptions out the wrong way. You know what I mean? I was born and raised in America. I am an American on paper. I'm an African in my soul and in my DNA. We're all very uniquely made. And I can read human nature here too, but I have a special affinity to my people in America. That's why I'm here in Africa, and I ain't forget about my people there. See, I'm not one of them Negroes who keep shoving Africa down your throat, which is beautiful, but we got things to deal with before we come over here. So I'm not going to turn my back. Oh, the weather's nice, the mangoes nice. Because look, a lot of them don't look at me like I'm out of over here too. See? So how am I going to turn my back on who I know and who my family is? Like when I moved to Orlando from New York City, and they say, man, you don't know nobody down there. I said, man, I got family there that I haven't even met. And so even though I'm here in the motherland, I still got family in America that I haven't even met yet because we speak the same language. I understand you, I know you, I love you, and I'll never turn my back on you. I'm not coming here to just put on a dashiki and a ankh and start talking in the ancestors. No, man. I'm not trying to be nobody's cult leader. I'm not trying to be nobody's prophet. I'm not trying to hide a narcissistic personality by acting like I'm so caring. This ain't for no money. Money helps, and like, hey, everything's there if you want to, and it's going right back to this. That's the way it's been for years. The impact of bitterness. Bitterness acts as a repellent to positive social interactions, making it difficult for these women to form healthy relationships, both romantic and platonic. A bitter attitude can push people away, creating a vicious cycle of loneliness and further bitterness. In romantic pursuits, bitterness can be especially damaging. No one wants to enter a relationship with someone who carries unresolved anger and resentment. As a result, many women find themselves alone even when they deeply desire companionship. See, this is what I know. They ain't no different. Now, you're not going to walk up to some strange woman you don't know because you deem her to be bitter because she argued with the cashier unnecessarily. But if you were ever close to one of these sisters, and I don't mean coming on to them in some sexual way, but just grab a hold of their hand and say, listen, sister, let me just look you in your eyes. let me just tell you that I know you, like me, have gone through so much. And maybe we can connect one day and just sit in the park. There's things on my chest that I need to get off, and I'd like to know if I can help you with anything that's on your mind. Let's just go into the park. I'm not trying to hit on you. I just want to give you some love and some time. When are you free? Let's go get some pizza. Let's go get something simple. Let's fill our bellies and talk. And I have no curfew. Man, she might, oh, no. Listen, if it's Saturday at 2 o'clock or 1 o'clock or 11 o'clock in the morning, she gonna be there. Trust me. She gonna be there. Because, like we said here, as a result, many women find themselves alone even when they deeply desire companionship. Let me tell you something. Let me say this right now. Even when there were women who we knew that there was an adult, intimate, physical vibe going on, I knew that it wasn't just it. A lot of times there are women who feel they have to display and share or act as though it's a sexual thing, but they really love. And many of the lying men, I'm saying all of them, oh, baby, I love you. I'm going to be with you. I want you so bad, when they only want sex. Right? So even when the times that I've done that, they allowed me into their intimate quarters, I say, listen, we got all night. What's the rush? Let me just enjoy being next to you. Let's have a connection of real intimacy. The body parts are there and they work and they will work and we'll enjoy that aspect of things. But let me just enjoy being with you. This time that we can never replicate again. This time that will one day be history and we'll look back on it, whether we're together forever or this is just one night. We don't know. This is our little secret. But let's just enjoy this. Hold me. And you know, a lot of times, I'm not saying it was a million times because I wasn't like that now. But I remember 2 occasions when I held the woman and she put her head in my chest. Tears started to come out of her eyes. Because she's not used to that treatment. That somebody wanted to be there with her for her as opposed to her orifices. There was and I said this story before, there was a stripper. I used to drive around a lot of strippers and take them to their clubs in different states and spend the night, and I saw a lot of crazy things and was around a lot of crazy things. But there was one in particular, the oldest one. She was around my age at the time. I'm not going to tell you, I'm going to keep that timeline secret. Not that I'm hiding nothing. It wasn't recent. It wasn't under the watch of Mrs. Scurv. This was in New York. But I saw her perform acts on men time and time again. I saw her dance and strip and all of this and all that. And I always treated all of them with respect. There was 1 or 2 times I had to get up in one's face because she pulled a blade on somebody. And I'm like, I don't take around women who are ignorant like that. She pulled one on me. I tricked her. I drove off and left her. I had to. It was going to get serious. That's another story. But she wasn't appreciated. She was a piece of meat. She was doing what she did because her daughter had to go to the special school, and she was a special needs child. And she had aspirations to continue to go to school, which she did. She would be romantic, get the wine, light the candles, and invite me over. I knew what it was. We never had sex. She just wanted intimacy with male energy who could appreciate her. More so, I saw what she was doing with the men, and I still had intelligence, a very intelligent woman. I still had intelligent conversations with her, and we would get in the bed. And if you saw the outfit that she had on, most men, and I ain't dumb. I saw. I got to hug her, talk to her, fall asleep. She was in my arms. And we didn't do no alternative, nothing. Nobody had no orgasm. But I felt good that her heart could fill up. She told me her life story, and I understood why. And I'm in another continent. I'm not looking for her because of what could have happened. But I would love to have her come on the show. I would love to talk to her. We lost contact. And I righteously love her very much. And when I would leave in the morning time or even in the afternoon, or she'd come with me and I'd take her shopping or whatever, this was no relationship. The dudes that would see me afterward when she was, man, I know you putting a hurting on that, man. I'm like, man, shut up. Ain't nothing like that, man. You lying. I see you. It couldn't have got more of a romantic setting at that point. The music, the wine, the candles. But she needed to be appreciated without that being on the table. I'm glad that maybe my intervention in her life didn't make her a bitter black woman. Maybe it gave her hope that maybe one day she would find somebody to appreciate her. She was in many magazines, adult magazines. In New York City, she was very popular. Many people might even know her name. I'm not going to say it. That taught me a lot. That even though I did deal with a lot of women, it wasn't always that way because I had a heart. And some people say, man, you wasting time and you should have dug them guts out. I said, that's why you ain't never going to grow. I'm a man. I like the feeling of all the things that most men like. What, am I stupid? No. There's a time and place for everything. And when people hear Marvin Gaye's song, Sexual Healing, they think that it has to be sex for it to be healing. No. You can be sensuous, like she was, and adored and appreciated without penis going in vagina or the mouth action or whatever. That's the thing that makes you feel whole. And my presence in her life replaced what the other energies were taken away from her as she sacrificed that for money. I understood. I ain't patting myself on the back either because it's, I'm a man. I'm like, if I was a different kind of guy now, I'm seeing it, but no, I'm not there for that. I'm not there for that. Healing from bitterness is not an easy process, but it is possible with self-awareness and dedication. Here are 10 steps that can help Black women rid themselves of bitterness and reclaim a sense of peace and fulfillment in life. Now, see, the folks that thought I was coming here to bash Black women, why would I be talking about healing and restoration and peace and fulfillment? Because it's all love. Acknowledge your path. Healing begins with acknowledging the sources of your bitterness. Identify the hurt or where the hurt stems from and accept that it's okay to feel that way. Ain't nothing wrong with you for feeling that way. There's something wrong for me feeling thirsty, so let me take another sip for the next 15 seconds. Hold tight, family. Oh my God. I'm a crackhead for this water. I ran out of lemon and lime and, there's some in the back, but I ain't going back there that late. It's too dark back there and, it ain't just bugs back there. Right? But it's okay. It's okay to say ouch when you bang your knee on the coffee table. It's okay for a little kid to cry when they get an inoculation, which I'm not too fond of those these days. since 2019. But if you act like you're not hurt and try to dismiss it, it will fester up and morph into something else and amplify. It's pain with interest on it. You know when you're paying a loan back, but it's interest. You know when you get a mortgage, and the first thing you paying on that mortgage, people who don't know, I was explaining that to a guy here the other day that was doing work. I said, if you take $500,000 loan and you pay back $500,000 over 30 years, or after 15 years or so, it's not like, well, I pay half the time, it's $250,000 left. No, you're paying interest first. What is it? Amortization? And as it gets closer to the time when it's paid off, you're paying more principal. But when we don't face the source of the pain, interest gets on it and it amplifies. Well, we don't acknowledge it. When we don't acknowledge it, excuse me, right? I'm thirsty, right? So I'm adding on syllables. And it permeates into other areas of our life that it shouldn't touch. You see? And that's a very dangerous thing, because you might see a young couple getting along, falling in love where it may be a proper thing. And you might despise them if you've allowed this to go past where you didn't acknowledge. And now you're seeing other younger budding couples coming up, and you see yourself in that, but you see and you remember, and it reminds you of the one who did you wrong. That's the way the mind works, and there's nothing wrong with that. What's wrong with it when we don't acknowledge it? I told you a long time ago, maybe you'll remember this little quick story. I was walking down 109th Avenue off of Guy Brewer Boulevard toward Merrick Boulevard, holding hands with a young lady I was very close with. Let's just say it like that. She was a couple years older than me, but it didn't matter. I was her boy toy, but she was like 20 years older than me. She was still in her 20s, but she was in her late 20s. And what was I? 21. So she was an older woman. I had just got into the 20s and she was knocking on the door at 30. Didn't matter. So I was messing. I kept tickling her. Well, we were just having fun in our own world. And I kissed her on the cheek. And she turned to me. Oh, man. And this was like in a residential block. I didn't think anybody was around. Oh, she gave me the kiss of all kisses. I mean, woo! I had to pull away. I'm like, listen, let's wait till we get inside. Oh, we crossed the street. We're still holding hands. And I swear the lady looked like this one on the banner here to the left. Just like her. She was sitting on the steps. And she said, now I'm going to say some curse words for the effect of what she said. So please excuse me. So she said, oh, what a cute couple. You all look so good with each other. And don't think I didn't see that kiss that you stole over there. Even if I had my back turned, it would have made me turn around, because I know you got love for each other. I know you got love for each other. Young man, don't you love her? I said, yes, I love her. Young lady, and we're on our way passing in front of a house, and we didn't stop walking. We slowed down to engage her. Young lady, don't you love him? Yes, I love him so much. And we passed and we waved. Yeah, you all love each other until you find that nigga's cheating on you, until that nigga fucks somebody else and brings you an STD and makes you pregnant and runs with his trifling ass. I'll bet next year he'll be walking down the street with another young lady running game on her. See, that was her business. Excuse the French. I had to say it that way, because we just thought she was a charming older lady. And she had all of this bitterness and toxicity and stuff saved up in the imagery of a younger couple kissing and holding hands. And you can see what we were going inside to do, but it wasn't in just a lustful way. And she saw that. And I reminded her of somebody. I got to tell you all another story in a very, because this is how deep it goes. This was a couple of years later. And I was working. I'm not going to say what job it was. I'm not going to tell no timeline here. And there was a woman who needed my help. I know she was much older than I. That's all I attracted, and that's all I seemed to be dealing with. So I helped her, and we talked. And I saw how she was looking at me. She was well dressed, well kept. And she says, "You have such nice conversation. It is so tempting for me to try to give you my number, but I know you're so much younger than me." No, it wasn't bad. It could have been looked at bad. But really, I said, "Well, you know, if you did, I'm not going to reject it. I do appreciate how well kept you are." Still, she said, "Are you saying I'm old?" I said, "No. You can drive a brand new car off the lot, and 2 weeks later, it's in shambles because the owner didn't take care of it. It's not about the age, it's how you keep yourself." She said, "Here you go. You call me later on." So we spoke for weeks until she wanted me to visit her. And by that time, we knew that the calisthenics was a possibility and happening. So nobody lived with her. Her children were grown, not as old as I. Okay, it wasn't like that. And so we took our time and sipped some tea and sipped some little bit. I don't drink, but a little bit. I didn't want to insult her. And we didn't make it upstairs. We were right there, and I'm not going to tell this in some nasty way, but the festivities began between the dining room and the living room. And I noticed that she kept glancing over my shoulder, which tells you that while I was never in the church in the capacity of a missionary, that very much so I was in a missionary position. So it was kind of freaking me out. Her concentration wasn't broke with the rhythm that was formed and the pleasure that was felt. Notice she was fixating on the wall behind me in the next room. So after the mutual July 4th explosions happened, well, we were on the couch. We sat up on the couch. And I looked over in the direction where she was staring, and she pulled my head back, not rough, but she said, "Lance, I don't want you to feel funny." Because when I looked on the wall, it was a painting of a man in military garb. And that was me. That man looked just like me, not similar. And I understood the charm that she felt from me reminded her of her deceased husband. She says, "Lance, I don't want you to feel used. But I had such a wonderful life with my husband, and when I locked eyes with you and when you talked to me, you took me there. I already knew that if you didn't take that number, I was going to have to kidnap you, but I wasn't using you for just sexual things. You have his essence." And then she started crying. She says, "If you don't want to come back here no more, it's okay. There's something about you, and I'm sorry." I said, "You don't have nothing to apologize for." Oh, I was back over there a whole lot, but I understood what started it. And I'll end it there. I'll tell more of that one day when I write the book in detail. That's going to be a whole lot of chapters. Number 2, forgive yourself and others. Release resentment by forgiving both yourself and unmet expectations and others who have hurt you. Release the resentment. You have to forgive them and yourself. It's not your fault. And you have to forgive others. It doesn't mean you're going to forget it, but you choose to take another path in how you deal with the hurt that was dished out to you, like a third helping in a picnic. right? Forgive yourself and others. Number 3, seek therapy. And again, on the show, was it last night or the night before, whichever one? First thing we say, oh, therapy, I ain't crazy. No, you're not. But if you don't seek to look for help, you just might be crazy after a while. And what was the analogy that I used? Is there something wrong with the car when the wheels need alignment? What the wheel's gonna say? I ain't crooked. I don't need no alignment. Yes, you do. It's nothing wrong. It's routine to bring you back into balance. How is Customato gonna train Mike Tyson if Mike Tyson refused the guidance, the expert lifelong guidance of a man who's been doing this long before he was even born? That's what a real therapist is not fake. Well, I'm going to take an appointment. What's your name again? Billy? No, my name is Lance. Oh, yeah, that's right. So you're not into me. You're not even connecting with me. Somebody who, or maybe a therapist that you may know of, or it doesn't have to be in the office. You can slip them a few, their fee or something. They can come by, whatever makes you feel better. I ain't going up there. Everybody gonna be looking at me like I'm crazy. You know what I mean? That's how black folks are. I ain't crazy. No, you're not. But you will be out of balance and appear to be crazy by your reactions when you deal with the outside world and you didn't get your tune up. You change the oil or you're gonna start shooting out black smoke. Number 4, develop new passions. Find new hobbies or pursuit that bring joy and fulfillment, shifting your focus away from past disappointments. I know so many people, friends and acquaintances, all they do is talk about the past, and they will talk about what they want to do, but what they want to do, they've been talking about from the 1970s when we were young teenagers. And you still want to do this. No. Do it. Get into it. But so many of us want to hold on to our pain because we've been pained and wronged so much that we identify with it now. That we've become bosom buddies with the abuse and chaos and trauma in our life. Ain't that something? Stockholm syndrome from the trauma. It's not really where we love it, but we've identified with it so much that we can't have a conversation without bringing that up. Another sip, y'all. I know for sure talking dehydrates you. When you hit 2 hours plus and you just in it, I don't feel it though. I just got to keep wetting my whistle because I love it, as long as it's something worthwhile, right? So the passions. See, the passions and the hobbies is something that we do in the present that has nothing to do with the past. But it can help alleviate all things that happened to us in the past. See, I'm well prepared to be up in the mountains in solitude, Mrs. Scurv and I. And even in this house and in this yard, she may be way in the back and I'd be way up on the 3rd floor somewhere. Sometimes the whole day go by, I don't even see her. Not that I don't want to, but even still in a relationship, you don't need to be up under each other all the time. Her thing is that, and my thing, and I enjoyed that, but I let her have that. Have it to yourself. Because when you see me, you'll appreciate me more. Right? So we still have to have our sense of individuality, and any man that comes in your life, we're not just talking about bitter black women now. We're talking about anybody. He should appreciate that you have hobbies and passions and other things. And any man that comes into your life that wants to dominate you and make you stop the things that you love doing, as long as you're not hurting yourself or it's a crack pipe in your mouth, he should be happy. Because if you love her and you love what she does because what it does for her, even if you're not into it, get into it a little bit. Tell me about this. Tell me about that. Mr. Scurv looks at plants and can tell you all about the plant and this and when to plant it, how deep to plant the seed, or do this and do that. Then I recently purchased the app that over your camera over the leaf and can tell you everything about it. So I'm walking around the yard behind her. Oh, you know what that plant is? That's the so-and-so and so-and-so. She looked at me like, wait a second, you don't know this stuff. She wasn't putting me down. I said, look, I cheated. Here's the app. Those are my training wheels. I'll know it. I'll know it one day. But I know that brings a glow to her heart for me to have an interest in something that she cares for. See? If you're a little girl with a teddy bear, I'm not going to take the teddy bear and throw it across the room. I'm going to grab the teddy bear. I love you, teddy bear. And that makes the little girl love me. No, I'm not saying there's no grown man. I'm not trying to get next to a little girl like that. I'm saying if I was a little boy. I'm a little boy and she's a little girl. I got a crush on her. That's the way to a heart. But have your hobbies. It keeps your mind refreshed. It keeps you satisfied. You have little wins every day. Like when you, even if it's crocheting or putting together a jigsaw puzzle or becoming an artist or whatever it may be, every day you do a little bit of something, you look forward to it. And you have a sense of fulfillment. And believe it or not, it builds your esteem. You know how, let me tell you something from the Lancescurv side of things, right? Even though I haven't put anything out there as far as drawing, look, I got so much to do, but you know what? When this house is done, we're going to rattle out everything, right? I'm not putting it off, but we'll start the book this year. And it's just some little things that pop up, right? I have a book for you before the year is out. We're going to start that when this house is done, everything. Because listen, I can't procrastinate for so long. I don't even think I'm procrastinating. It's just that those who know me know how much I'm up against. And it's okay because I'm built for this. But the bottom line is, when you put these things on the plate and you do these things, it purges you. It's like having a loose bowels, but you feel a little sick, and you take that charcoal. You get a little powdered charcoal. What's the word they put in front of it? So-and-so, what kind of charcoal is it? But you know what I'm talking about. And you put it in, boom, and it just absorbs, and you're all right. Well, that's what a hobby does for you. And you may find that you go further and further and further. Oh, I was going to tell you about how good it makes me feel when I say, oh, people bring up, I'm an artist. And I say, well, yeah, I dip and dab. It's been a while. But really, can you fault a singer who hasn't put out an album in 10 years? That doesn't make him any less of a singer. He's a singer. He's a performer, right? Well, I'm an artist. Hey, let me see what you do. I say, hit this link, Lancescurv.com. Go to the art page. Oh, you are an artist. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm that and so much more. So you know the sense of accomplishment in my own little way to say that I do something and can prove that I do it. I knew a white man, a client, an architect, a client of my father's. I can say his name, John Stonehill. His kids are my age. He had, and he's transitioned now, and he was at my father's homegoing services, and that man was sincerely crying up a storm. He really loved my father and his wife, Judith. And he collected World War II model tanks. This was back in the 70s. This was I remember him talking about when I was 10 years old, that same very day, Muhammad Ali was fighting Ken Norton. It was in March of 73. I didn't forget it. Because I was starting to lean more and more toward boxing at that time. And I wanted to watch the fight. And he was talking about the tanks. And I kept looking away. But I was respectful. I'll get the exact date. But the first Ali Norton fight, we were there that day. It was a Saturday. I was fascinated that he had over 100 of these small, the tanks were like maybe 9 inches long, not counting whatchamacallit, where you shoot the stuff out in the front, right? Brain fart, Biden fart. But he told me about each tank, which war it fought on, where the manufacturer was that manufactured the tank, when the making of the tank was discontinued and why, what country they sold the tank to when America was done with it. And oh man, Activated charcoal. Thank you, thank you, thank you. In my mind, I'm like a skipping record, back in the 70s and before when we had the 45 RPM and everybody would bring their records over to one person's house, we'd have parties. Instead of everybody trying to buy all the records, bring all your records. And sometimes we had doubles. Like if, three people brought the same record out of the pile that they had. And so they got mixed up. Well, how did you do the record? You told it because you knew the scratches on the record. That's not my record because mine didn't scratch in that part. But even though records had the scratches and you heard it on the radio with no scratches, something about the scratches on the record made it so unique. Everything is so pure now when you hear it over the radio. Yes, let me go on to the next one. Let me see before I Biden out. But thank you for that Mad Guns activated charcoal. I had an activated charcoal nightmare a couple weeks ago. I took too much. I thought I was giving birth to sharp bricks. Too much information. Rebuild your self-esteem. Work on rebuilding your confidence through self-care, positive affirmation, and surrounding yourself with supportive people. You know what I love to see? You know what I love to see? There's so much I love to see, right? But you're on Instagram or whatever, TikTok, whatever, and you see a woman who may really be extremely overweight. And you see her with the little weights in her hand. And she might have tights on. And you see how her body has really gotten out of shape. But you also see the determination in her eye. And you also see that she has had that conversation with herself. I know what I look like now, but I'm going to start this thing and nothing's going to stop me. Man, that make you want to encourage that woman so much. There have been times when up in New York when I was training, way when I was younger, I'd see that happen. And if I had nothing to do, I would walk right next to that woman. We walking together. Come on now, just a little more. Let's go. Not pushing, but encouraging her. Because, and this I would always tell them, or anybody, the minute you visualize and determine that you are going to reach this goal, the world may say you fat and sloppy and out of shape and morbidly obese, but the minute that you commit, I mean, real commitment, not, well, I'm going to do this for 2 weeks and stop, where you don't start that way, but that happens. But when it burns you to say, I'm taking this thing to the next level, you know what? You already won. You're already there. Now it's about keeping up with the routine and going through those movements, not just going through the movements, but executing what must be done to get there. Once you commit to that mortgage, hopefully 30 years from now, 25, 20, 15 years from now, you'll be right there. It's a commitment. Once you buy the land and come to building the house, once the foundation is put, and even before the foundation, right where we stand right now, where I am right now, even though I'm on the 3rd floor right now, but go down to the ground, you could not walk through this property. There were trees, there were smaller trees, there were bushes with thorns, bees' nests in it, snakes jumping out. And we had to take the machetes and day after day and burn and burn. So now what's left is what she wants and what she planted. And where the house stands, there were things that we had to get rid of. One thing I'm angry is that we had an anthill, just like the ants used to do the videos on. And there are some anthills close by on private property. I'm going to say, hey, can I come here and stand in front of your ant? They'll let me, but I'm not going to do that. I found some down the road, down. But when I go out, it's not like it's brush up to your thigh or whatnot. But when I'm talking, I don't want to have to keep looking down at my feet. You know what I mean? You never know when a snake wants to come and try out your ankles, you know? But once you determine in your mind that you're going to reach this goal, Oh, yes. Let me see this thing here. I got a look. Can I blow you up? You did some research for me. Can I blow you up and say your name? Say your name. Say your name. Hold on. Let me go here. Yes, it was Giant Game. Wow. I feel like a teacher in a class, and you went over and above. The fight date for Muhammad Ali and Ken Norton in March of 1973 was March 31st on Saturday. That's the day I was watching. See, I always associate and remember these things. Always. Wow. Thank you, Giant Game. I had to blow you up. In a good way. Thank you so much. Yeah, now that's going to be in my head permanently now because now I see it. But I knew it was March. I knew it was March. And I know a lot of fight dates. And I just, because I remember what I was doing at that time, you know? Focus on gratitude. Practicing gratitude can shift your mindset from one of scarcity to one of abundance. Focus on the positive aspects of your life, no matter how small. That is so true. Do you know how good I felt today when that little bird needed me? It was in so much pain and shock. Maybe somebody else would have tried to take the bird and have it for dinner that night. But I talked to the bird, and I gave it time to get itself together and straightened it up. Small acts of gratitude, even to nature. Oh, that made me feel good. Wherever the bird is right now, it's nighttime. He's in his nest. He's flying somewhere. He'll always know that he can come to my house and he'll get treated good. He'll always know that he can fly by that private balcony and rest all night if he wanted to, safe. And even if he wanted to come inside, if he can talk to me and say, I feel unsafe, can I come inside with you? Sure. That put a glow on my whole day. I felt so good about that. So that's one way of gratitude being the activated charcoal to alleviate the chaos of bitterness in your emotional stomach. Yes, Giant Game, thank you. Yeah, that takes it away. Because sometimes, no matter what the sex, male or female, the bitterness can make us feel as though we're locked in. And we're not. We're never permanently locked in. It's the state of mind. Even if we can't move from one physical location to the next, we can do things that make us feel better by affecting the world with our gratitude, even sometimes when we may feel a little bitter. Feel bitter, but I'm going to do this for this person. And after that, you feel validated because you can't look at yourself as a bad person. Maybe people saw that you were a little bitter about something in your life and wanted to relegate you to a permanent bitter status. Wait a second, the bitter lady, man, she did that. It's how we see things. It's never where it's written in stone that you're going to be this way. Because you are not that. When you were a little baby born and your mother held you minutes after a painful labor, and while she was going through the labor, she said, oh God, I don't want, because some labors, women cussing and damning. Oh, I hate this baby. You may put me through so much pain. As soon as the baby's out and they cut the umbilical cord and it's in their arms, you better not even try to harm that baby. And that mother, if she had to bring that baby again, if they say, oh, you got to do it all over again 10 times, for that feeling that they have of connectedness, that the pain I went through bonded us, and now you're here, and now you're in my arms, and I'm dedicated to you. I'm going to love you. I'm going to protect you. And you forget all about the pain, even when it just came out and your parts are going back to normal size over the next few weeks. You can hardly walk, but you can walk. But that makes you strong when you see that child. We don't always have to have childbirth of our own to be a mother, a loving mother. I told you about the lady I used to drive around in my dollar van back in the 90s. She had been working at this daycare center in school for years. And she shared with me her pain of not being able to have children of her own. Oh, I hope. She was a couple years older than me. She might have been 15 years older than me in the mid 90s. So she can still be with us. I really want to find that woman too. There's so many gems of people that I've ran across and crossed paths with and had them in my life for a time. And, you lose contact gradually. But I tried to tell her, listen, you know how many children that you've been a mother to in your years working in school and daycare? Because she was kind of feeling bad. And she lived off beyond the bus line that I drove along in my van. And I would always take her further. Like, I can't drop you off here in the nighttime up here on Hillside Avenue and let you walk up there. No, I got you. And usually it was the end of my day because she worked late. So we'd sit out there and talk sometime, and she cried about that. And they were having a birthday party for her. And I also knew some of her co-workers that they all knew me, and they knew the van, the neighborhood knew the van. Oh, you going here? Can I rent you for Saturday? Oh, I got to go move a couch. Or, I did all kind of stuff in the community. So I got a chance to talk and know. I got so much stories for y'all. And I'm looking for people that I'm going to put the word out in the streets in Queens. I'm going to call up some people, say, find some of these people for me so they can come onto the show. You're going to hear stories from their side, even if it's not about me. What a rich life God has given me. And that's why I have to share it here. You see? So they told me not to tell her. And she was on her way to school that day, or it was planned for her to come, but they wanted her delayed. And so they asked me to see if I can kind of, because I wasn't supposed to pick her up. And if I picked her up at the bus stop with everybody else, I had to come down. So I had her number and I called her. And I said, I don't want to say her name. I could, but, I said, listen, I'm in the neighborhood. You working today? She said, oh my God, it's about to rain. I'm glad. Can you come by and pick me up? I said, sure. Knowing good and darn well I was going to find a way to stall. So I'm driving the van and I shifted it into neutral and revved she knew nothing about vehicles. I said, oh my God. And all the lights, I cut everything off. She didn't see. And all the lights on the dashboard came on. She says, what's wrong? I said, I don't know. I'm glad I'm right here by a park. And it wasn't some desolate area where she would feel unsafe, because she felt very safe around me. I said, let me go under the hood and check this out and whatever. So I stalled her for like 15 minutes. And I still brought her in pretty much on time the way it was planned, but they wanted me to stall her. And I told her, I said, listen, I'm going to get you there on time, but I got about a mile away, and I called them and I said, listen, we're about a little way. We're coming. Okay, we're ready. So we parked the van and everything. I said, listen, I got to go inside real quick, then use the bathroom real quick. I got to take a leak. So I ran in before. I'm like, shit, he's coming. They had people that were grown, that she taught and raised, that they had them come back, those who can come back. There was somebody who came there from as far as South Carolina that made the point, I'm coming up to celebrate her birthday and be a part of this, and other places too, closer, but some from other states to New York. So I didn't have to take a leak, but I got back on the door. She said, what? You didn't pee that quick. I said, hold on for a second. So I got behind her and put my hands over her eyes. What you doing? Not hard. It wasn't slow. I wasn't trying to goose her on the backside of the. I just put my hands over her eyes. I said, just let's walk forward. She started smiling already because I think she figured it out. but she wasn't ready for what she saw. And when the lights were off, they flicked on and they were like, "Happy birthday, mommy, mother." She collapsed. I'm glad I was there to catch her. The emotional jolt that went through her when she looked in a split second and saw everybody there, she literally, she was petite. I don't care if she was big, I still would have caught her and kept her from falling. She broke out. I'm just saying this for effect. I'm not putting her down. She's a very pretty woman, but she was feeling the cry so much. She broke out in the ugly cry. Right? I'm being funny, right? You know when a cry and it hurts so bad that the mouth is wide open, like, you know what I mean? Yo, tears shot out of her eyes. I mean, like a water gun. The first tear, like, I mean, it was like 2 millimeters, but they came flowing. But it was love. And I picked her up, everybody gathered around her, hugged her and kissed her. And every time when she just almost slowed down in the cry, she saw the person from North Carolina, and she just went off again. And in my own special way, this is the way I envision transition righteously, although we have our own feelings about it, that hopefully if we do right on this level, we'll be reunited with the energies that we know and love. Even some people we forgot. We ain't going to be in a physical form, but we'll know who the energies are. And what a millennium of crying that's going to be, tears of joy. You know what I mean? When I look out in nature and see that everything has been provided, that I can go in my own backyard and get a meal. Ain't nothing but bananas today from out in the backyard. I picked them green and left them outside on one of the balconies in the back where the sun could hit in the morning. And today it's yellow. So quick, non-GMO. So if things are perfect on this level, aside from the man-made engineered world, then on a spiritual level, there must be perfection beyond our comprehension. So I'm not afraid of death. This thing that man calls death. My mother wasn't either. My father wasn't either. I'm not even trying to say tough because I know it's not trying to kill me. I'm going to run. I don't want to die, but I'm not scared of it naturally. You see what I mean? Because I know I got something here to do and I got a whole lot to do. So I know I'm going to be kept here for a while. But that was so touching. I'm sitting up there, she hugging me and I'm crying. Look, I don't care about no crying. Men don't cry. I'm not trying to be emotionally constipated. And the funny thing about it, when I was growing up, we get in these little fist fights. And before the fist fight, like, yeah, Lance, I'm going to see you at 3:00. The bell ring. I'm going to where the fight's going to be. I'm sitting up there, tears start coming out of my eyes. Hey, oh, yeah, he's scared. Yeah, okay. Okay, y'all found out. When I'm angry too, I cry. But I'm very angry. It's funny. It's like, yo, you see how he's throwing them jammies and he's crying? He's beating his behind. But no, there's the emotional love crying and bonding. And I feel people's love. You know what I mean? And I can't hide it. I'm not in that tough man stuff, even though I think I can be a little tough sometimes. You know what I mean? Number 7, create a new vision. Redefine your life goals and create a vision for the future that aligns with who you are now, not who you once thought you'd be. And this is the thing. Too many of us are trapped in what we thought we were, and other people who want to keep us there remind us of who we were, what we went through to keep us stagnant, because they asses are stagnant. So you have people in your life possibly that want to keep you bitter. You see? Well, I can tell you, we would have to do some conference call things. I want to reveal a whole lot. I ain't putting that on public. I put it on Patreon or something like that, but you know, I ain't putting that on YouTube. Funny stuff. Funny stuff. Private funny stuff. I'm in the old man phase right now. I ain't got no shame. I'm gonna tell it. I'm gonna tell it. Beautiful. but you're not in a hard mold like concrete. You didn't harden and have to stay that way. We can morph and change and evolve. And it doesn't mean you have to change. Evolve out of it. It's still part of your past, but you see it different. You deal with it different. Evolve out of it. You know how many times I had to reinvent myself? I remember when people told me, "Oh, you starting to bodybuild? Oh, you look all right, but you going to get up on stage, man. You don't have it for that." And I didn't have the structure, the natural structure. I didn't have the naturally wide shoulders. I didn't have the, you know what I mean, the proportions. My arms were a little longer and, you know, different things. I wasn't mad at them. But when I started and people started coming at me, I'm like, yo, I'm going to show them. I would be running at night, riding my bike into Brooklyn, training for all these hours, eating nothing but just certain lean things. And I was going off. I remember in August of 1982, before that show in October, I was already going to shows and doing well and winning lots of trophies. That wasn't enough. I said, I'm taking these next few months off. I'm doing nothing but training. I'm nothing but eating a certain way. And you ain't going to see me unless you catch me in the street. There's some old buddies I used to hang out with that were heavy into the church when I was younger. They came over to pray for me because they thought I was smoking crack because my face was so sucked in, but my body was right. And I tried to tell them, I said, listen, I know what you're thinking, but it's not that, man. Like, we're like a brother to you, brother. So if you need, you can talk to us about anything. I said, listen, I'm not on crack. That's just my face. My face was so sucked in from low body fat and slight dehydration at the time. I was sleeping 11 hours a night. That's how beat up I was beating my body. I had slept full 11 hours every night for months. I said, listen, if I got to prove to you, you know I'm working out. Yeah, but you don't look right, man, in your face. I said, listen, look at this. I zipped down my tracksuit, took off my stuff. I didn't care. I know them. I didn't have no underwear on. I said, look at how I look. Oh, my God. I said, yeah, you see what I'm doing, right? But it makes me look different. All the fat is ripped off my face. I look skinny in my clothes, but it's all right. Don't think that. Please spread the word. You know, so you can change, you can evolve. I'd rather say evolve, because change is too much of a word. Like, you're still the same person, but you've evolved into a higher version of yourself. You ever see those magazines or shows where, you know, they show you the current model of Toyota Corolla and how it's evolved from back in the 70s? You're like, wow, it sure has changed, but it still has a similar look to it. It's like if one of these ladies on the banner went to not just the gym, but changed certain things up. I know they got some stuff to eat in their hands, but they can change. And you'll see that face. You'll see the same face and say, oh, you look so different. Remember when Jennifer Holliday lost all that weight? And I am telling you, I'm not going. And she looked different, you know, but she lost all that weight. You can tell it's her. But it's a different version. She evolved. You always have the ability to evolve as long as you unlock your mind from your past where there was a lot of pain. You are not your pain. I gotta write that down. Like they say, you are not your past, you are not your pain. And there's people around you who see your potential will always try to keep you locked into that pain, just like when a person who owns a dog goes into the store and puts the chain up and the dog is chained up to the pole outside. Keep you right there. See your potential. So watch who's around you and the energies that they bring. Number 8, strengthen social connections. Actively seek out new friendships and social circles that bring positivity into your life. You're not stuck. You're not chained up like that dog in front of the store. You may feel funny because when you see a group of people who already know each other and, oh, I don't want to push myself up on them. Oh, I don't want to. No. They may possibly very much so need your energy and your experiences and will welcome you in. Smile. Introduce yourself. Oh, I'm good for that. Even though I know how to stay to myself, but when the spirit hits me, I have no problem. Listen, y'all remember I used to be a male stripper. I used to take off my clothes. I ain't got no shame. I got no problem walking up to people and talking to them when I want to. It's when I don't want to. But brother man ain't got no shame or scared. No, I'm not scared of nothing. Social situations with no. I could tell you stories on just other things. Embrace aging. Learn to embrace the beauty of aging and the wisdom that comes with it, rather than mourning the loss of youth. When you embrace that your body may be aging, but your wisdom is going high, and if you're living right, your spirit is uplifted, and you become valuable to those who may have less chronological years on this earth, and sometimes the ones that have the same amount or even more. You open up and you see how valuable you can be. That what you're sitting on, as far as your experiences and even the painful lessons that you've gone through that brought you pain, it feels good to guide somebody to not make the same choice and avoid the pain. That validates you after you've gone through that. You're like, man, I went through that, but it helped them. It helped them not to go through the same thing. I see that that young man was not the right one for that woman. I didn't say don't go with him. I just gave her some pointers on red flags, what to look for, and how to engage. And it helped her. And she found out because I saw it. Be that granny in the rocking chair. I'm not saying you're gonna be a granny in the rocking chair, but that wisdom. You woke up and they already know what you're thinking. Boy, I know you're thinking about that girl I saw you holding hands with at midnight down. You're like, you was up at midnight looking out the window? I saw it in my spirit. They see everything in the spirit. I'm telling you. I remember I was about maybe 15 years old. And I had just got possession of the basement, side door and everything. Right? My friends can come. There was no problem me having friends over, but they wouldn't have condoned me bringing over. Well, we had a guest that wasn't a blood aunt, but she was a spiritual aunt. And I think she stood at a height of 4'10". She was real short. And she stood at that height in high heels. From Washington, D.C., Iola White. Aunt Iola. And she was the most beautiful spirited woman. And behind the other one I talked about, Sister Foster, the pastor who was the real deal. Aunt Iola was the real deal. And when she would sit us down and read the Bible and talk about it, she made it so interesting. She made it so interesting. And I love when my mother would go down to Washington and we'd spend the weekend or a week with her. I never wanted to leave the house because when she broke out the Bible and, we go get something to eat and she gonna do some Bible study tonight, hey, it made sense. And I remember like when you talk, like some people, when you're talking, like replying to them, their lips are moving, saying the words you saying, but like half a second later, like a delayed response, there's no noise coming out, but their lips are moving. And she always used to say, but she was a very intelligent woman and she was educated also. But oh boy, I wish I could bring back Iola because I know she transitioned. I believe it was 2002 or 2003. And that was after my mother passed away. And I found out online. I searched for her name and saw that she had passed away. And it had been a long time since I saw it. I think I have one picture of her in my photo album, and I'm going to upload it and I'll put it up. All these wonderful people, if I have photos, I'm going to share them with everybody. because a little piece of them are in me because they invested in me. And so when you find yourself being called bitter, listen, there's something in you that somebody else will find valuable and will validate all of the things that they say made you bitter. But it will purge you when you help others. And I've learned that. I've seen that in other people. Number 10, give back. Volunteering or mentoring others, you see, can help create a sense of purpose and fulfillment, shifting the focus from personal pain to collective healing. And that's kind of like with me right now, you know, just talking about these things and things I've been through, and the young guys come around me and some still call me. I got a lot of brothers who are locked up in Orlando who, you know, they got my number. They call me out of nowhere. Hey, man, hey, Scurv, what's up, man? This is so, hey, what's going on? And I always give them time. For them to respect me that much and to know that the same person that was in the jail with them, I started doing this thing online and like, man, you was talking like that. Dang, man, you're a real nigga, man. And I'm like, oh, no, don't call me that. I understand where it's coming from. And I know it's a term of endearment. I'm like, thank you, man. Thank you. You know what I mean? You got to understand where it's coming from. Man, you the realest nigga I know. Thank you, brother. Thank you. You're real too, and you really evolved. You think so? I said, man, remember the time we first locked horns? Man, you told me you was gonna beat my ass in that cell if I came in there, and you were ready to do it. Until I came in there and you saw I wasn't playing either. And I told you, I said, listen, you can do that and I'm not gonna report you. But if I do you better not say nothing to get me written up. Well, that's what I know, man. You wasn't playing. I'm not no tough guy, but you ain't gonna tell me that. And after that, we were the best of friends. I had another friend request on Facebook for another one. And I know he'll come on. But see, he's still a little slimy though, but he remembers. I want him to talk about some memories. But he's still a little, not like violent toward anybody, but you know, anything he can get his hands on that nobody can see, he gonna do it. I said, man, you need to evolve. He said, man, you know how I get down. I'm like, yeah, but that's not the way to go, man. You're getting too old for that. I got about 30 kids too. He said, well, my daddy was a truck driver and he got 72. He just had one. I'm like, oh man. But in conclusion, bitterness is not an inevitable outcome of life's disappointments. While many Black women have endured significant hardships, healing is possible by addressing the root causes of their bitterness, embracing self-compassion. My mouth is slipping, my mouth is dry, and seeking new paths toward fulfillment. These women can reclaim their joy and live the rest of their lives with peace and purpose. Though life may not have unfolded as expected, there's still room for growth, love, and happiness, regardless of age and circumstance. And on that note, if anybody wants to come on in and add on to all of the ranting that I did, and again, when I got a little emotional, thank you for enduring that storm. I don't really know all that I said. I was just saying that it was just purging me. And not that I was feeling bad, but it still feels good when I can get those things out of my system. So I didn't even have a chance to look at the comments, but there's a link if anybody wants to come in. I'll hang out for a couple of minutes and see if you want to come in. But I just want to really, really, really thank you. And I'm glad nobody jumped me because I know how it looks. And I know on the internet how things are presented and how if you see something titled The Bitter Black Woman and you see this imagery, it's a bashing session. And all them cats, which Black women are not really into the cat thing, but since that's a universal type theme, I said, let me stick it there because there may be others who, well, you know where I'm coming from. Then the food and was it ice cream or whatever, you know, it's almost like, you know, you about to get slaughtered. You walk up at the end of these women here, they don't look like they're playing. But even then, you leave me in a room with them for 10 minutes, they'll be cracking up and laughing. That's my job. That's the way I get to them. You know what I mean? But yeah, let me scroll up and see. I see the greetings between everyone. I'd love to see, yeah, those birds were testing my response times. Yes, yes. Calling us to action. Yeah, let me see. What you say, Earth Angel? Last pulling the filth from under the rug. Yeah. Wow. Reese says, that's true. Society doesn't allow us to express any kind of hurt. That's what I see. I see with my own two eyes. A book never had to tell me that, you know? And I said something where Earth Angel say, come on, Lance, give us that whole truth. Well, did you want me to say more or something? Or were you saying like that I was saying the whole truth or something? Because, you know, I'll let it all hang out on a conference line call or whatever, you know. If you don't see me anymore, blame the Lancinator indirectly. Bad guns. that name's gonna stick. You're gonna start seeing it up here. Trust me. You know? Wow. Let me see. Riri says, for real, mad guns, you're absolutely right. But not in the streets. Never, but everything has its time and place, but it doesn't apply to women as well as in these streets. Well, that's part of a conversation that I have to scroll up to. I'll do it later on. But yeah. That's what I prepared earlier. I said it yesterday that might be what we talk about, and I knew it would be a challenge. And please, if anybody comes in the comment section with some negativity, which shows that they didn't really listen to the show, they just went by the banner, fooey on them. Hopefully it's something different that brought a different side of things and brought a little understanding and brought a sense of healing to those who may be feeling a bit bitter or told they are. It's okay. You have a right to feel that way, but let's try to heal. And let's heal in love. And thank you, Gifty, for understanding. I knew you would. I knew everybody would. And I know everybody would give me a chance to explain it, but I knew it was almost going to be like playing that game Operation. You remember that game? You got to be up in a certain age bracket. There was a game called Operation where there was this flat board and it was a man laying down, but it was part of the illustration of the flat board. And they had an area that had bones in it, but you had to have the bone out from in the indented part of the body without touching the edge or it'd make a buzzer noise. Operation. And so if you kept taking the bones out, the more bones you had, the more you'd win. So I knew that it would be a challenge in the midst of the internet cyberspace battle of the sexes and battle of the generations type atmosphere. But I know what I have inside. And I did go a little bit over the top so that people that don't know me would say, oh, you know, maybe the ones who may be called bitter were ready to jump me. And maybe the ones that were looking to bash Black women who've been through things, who need a little bit more understanding, that are called bitter, would be shocked that it was a different spirit that I brought this title in. And that's all it was. And let me see, the new comments came in. Yeah, you remember that buzzer shiny game? Operation. Embrace getting older. It's not guaranteed. I know a few people didn't make it to. Yeah, I know someone who never made it to 20. I know someone never made it to 14. You know, it's like we getting that phone call frequently, more so. That late night phone call. Hey man, you know so-and-so, right? Yeah, what happened, man? You already know. You know what I mean? And it's gonna come for all of us. So for me, while I'm here, let me use my energy and my time to affect somebody, even if it's one person in some kind of way, instead of scrolling endlessly through ratchet fights. You know what I mean? I mean, some of them catch my eye where I'm seeing two people fighting. I'm like, oh, let me see who wins this one. You ain't gonna catch me with like the next 20 minutes the same thing. Oh no. If I'm online at long, I'm doing something like this, or researching, or learning a new program, or learning something that I want to get and how to install it. I'm teaching myself something. It's an exchange. I love the transferal of energy. I love to learn something, and if I don't tell you and show you what it is that I've learned, I'll show you the benefit of what I learned. You know, I'm really into getting the Starlink. It's here in Ghana, but I don't want to get it through a third party, whatever. I'm going to order it from the States, send it over, install it, and I have unlimited. So there'll be no glitches in the stream. I can download all the videos I want without running down low on data and having to top it off. Oh man. And I'm going to, and once the studio's done, everything's in place, just go down there, pop, pop, pop. Do a 10-minute show, do a 20-minute show, do a recording, do it here, but always this one. Like, man, Lance. Then I'll go in the garden a little bit, work a little bit in the sun, eat some fruit, come back, something, yo, Lance, you know what happened, right? What happened? You know what I mean? Wow. Life is sweet. And that's the way I choose to look at it after all I've been through, because it taught me a whole lot. Well, anyway, I'm going to wrap this down once again. And I'm looking forward to tomorrow. Like I said yesterday, I don't know what it is we're going to talk about, but we're going to talk about something. We're going to talk about something. It's always that way. And just want to say that I love you all. Seriously, I do, in my own special way with everybody. And this is time that we spent that is etched in stone forevermore. That these 3 hours that we had a chance to sit here and fellowship together and comment together, it may be 3, but hopefully it helps somebody out here to evolve. And that's all I can do for. Much love to you all. Take care. Lancescurv out. On to the next one. And tomorrow, yes, we'll be back. Peace.
Hello, this is Martha. Actually, today I got to meet my friend Lance. Yes, I got to meet my friend Lance. This is my first time meeting him in person, and he's a very kind man, seriously. I do talk with him on phone, on WhatsApp, but I've never got to meet him. But today, he's just extraordinary. He's very, anything you want to know about life, anything you want to know about just him, anything you want to know about life, please. YouTube, Telegram, Instagram, Twitter, all the social media channels, you got to find him there. He's very inspiring. He's very positive. If you want anything positive about life, please subscribe to Lancescurv. And then every day you got to see different videos, different talks, different topics about life. See you.